Hello, and welcome to Read and React, presented by Fable Table. I am your host, Nick, and joining me as ever is the lovely Shannon. The lovely Shannon.
And I did change my name in your chat.
Did you really?
To the lovely Shannon.
You
At
are
least I hope I did.
Oh my god, I have to see
I
this.
Did. Let me see. Where's...
Yes, you are the lovely Shannon. Perfect. Today, we are continuing our Read and React series of Dungeon Crawler Carl by Matt Dinniman and the audiobook by Jeff Hayes, or voiced by Jeff Hayes. So, spoiler warning. I'm going to go ahead and just give a spoiler warning for all of book 4 and the previous books. Because we're taking these books in much bigger chunks. There will be moments where I think it's important to say, like, this scene here, this is preparing us for something later in the book. And I'm going to reserve the right to talk about those moments. So spoiler warning for all of book 4, but we will mostly be focused on the first half of the book. This was fun. I enjoy the first half of this book, although it's just a lot of, like, here's what's going on the floor, and here's some new crawlers, and then we start to get to some really juicy stuff in the last couple chapters of the first half. I really did enjoy rereading this. Some of the major plot threads that we really focus on, especially in the first half of this book, are, let's see, in no particular order, Katya continuing to grow and develop as a crawler, Carl's quiet resistance. He is now he's moving more into the, like, I'm definitely going to fucking do something about this, but things are still, I would say, quiet and reserved. Because he is hiding him hiding the cookbook is representative of that. And, like,
it's an internal, absolutely. It's all happening inside his head. He's not outwardly, being like, I'm a freedom fighter. I'm Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
No, he's not doing any of that. It's all very much inside his head, and it's this quiet struggle that he has every day.
How can I hurt their bottom line and leverage everything so that I'm still valuable while hurting people, like hurting these corporations and governments a little bit here and there, just to, like, get back at them. It's still very quiet at this point.
It's, how do I keep the human race alive?
Well, yeah, there's that too.
These people help themselves. How do I get them to be stronger, to know the things that they need to know without telling them how I know the things that they need to know?
Yeah.
The mental weight of the burden that this man is carrying inside of him at all times is fucking astronomical. Fantastic.
I think in book 3, especially with the, like, intercrawler network of, like, everybody having to deal with the tangle and everyone needing to share information, there was a lot more room for the growth of and opportunities to, like, I'm going to go save lots of people. We need to be communicating. In this particular floor, there's less room for that, but they are communicating, but the, like, collaborativeness is more localized. Because of the format of the floor, which we'll get to. So I didn't write down like all crawlers working together as a major plot thread, but it is happening. There is a lot of focus in this book on NPCs, though, and the importance of NPCs and that continuing to grow. Yep. We have Chris's transformation. We have faction wars coming up in this, and, like, Carl's preparation and engagement in that. And then the AI actually wasn't one that we focused on a lot in the last book, but the AI as a character and their development, and I guess development and degeneration are kind of going hand in hand, but seem opposite, but they're not. That is a major plot thread here. So I broke the first half of this book down into kind of 3 chunks. two really big ones, chapters 1 through 9, which I just titled like New Floor Who Dis. I think you called it something else, but your title was very specific to something that happens later.
It was mostly just like again the ramblings of like
Yeah.
I think the very first thing that I wrote was donut barfs on Carl, ha 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 ha.
Yep. Uh-huh. So yeah.
Oh, it's not so much a title as just like I took the chapters that you were working within and then I
Okay.
bundled them all up with every in like thing. I haven't done any of the chapter titles in a minute, so maybe I'll go back to that for the next one.
So yeah, chapters 1 through 9, which handles basically 1/4, kind of.
Yeah. Ish. It's yeah.
You could almost say like the first 9 chapters are the air quadrant, but in fact they're not. It's actually the water quadrant that gets dealt with first. I won't get into what that means, but
for sure, yeah.
The second chunk of chapters would be 10 through 16, and that is the resolution of their starting quadrant on this floor of the dungeon, the air quadrant.
Insecure.
And then the last 2 chapters of this set deals with the murder of a character, which we're gonna get into.
It's so good. Okay.
Yeah. So all of my notes on chapters 1 through 9, I just wrote in kind of like a big stream of consciousness, and it's mostly just kind of like the plot moving forward with some interesting moments. I actually didn't find there to be a ton of terribly interesting moments in chapters 1 through 9. It was mostly just like, what is the plot within the floor? Like, what is the structure of the dungeon floor? So I'll just dive right in. Yeah.
I feel like I will say that I think that chapters 1 through 9 were setting up dominoes.
Yes, there was a lot of setting the table so that we can eat a delicious meal and then have a food fight and then flip the table over.
Absolutely.
And then pull the tablecloth and say, look at this magic trick I just did, but there's nothing on the table anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So we saw in the epilogue of the last book that they show up, they basically roll some dice to determine like who their enemy is, what quadrant they start in, blah, blah, blah. It's, we actually like step past that, which is interesting. Like you kind of have to have read the epilogue of the last book to have every detail. But they step out into a quadrant of the new floor. We are immediately hit with like some notifications. Your new sponsorships, I believe the second sponsorship bidding has already started. There are about 179,000 crawlers left. And at this point, it's like, dear God, that's like a fathomable number. We've been talking about how the viewer counts have been growing like exponentially insane and unimaginable. But 179,000 crawlers left is like really sad to think about. I looked up the sizes of some US cities for comparison. This one will hit close to home, Shannon. Eugene, Oregon has about 179,000 people in it.
Fuck me.
Santa Rosa, California, and Shreveport.
Fuck nobody.
Yeah, Shreveport, Louisiana. And this number is
nobody.
Yeah. And this number is a lot less than I think the last time we saw the number before the shit hit the fan at the end of the 3rd floor or the 4th floor. And during like the huge waves of Krakarens and ghouls, tens of thousands of people did not make it. So that's very shocking start to the book.
But it is. But I think, obviously it sucks because it's like an extinction level event. But, I know that Carl won't see it this way, most likely. But he did his damnedest. He did his best to try and help these people by getting in people's chats and by giving them information and trying to help them as much as he could to help themselves. Like, while he was also dealing within, like, his own sphere. But, like, anytime he learned something new, that was something that we saw a lot of,
Yeah.
like in the background. He was like, holding up his hand, and he was like, crafting a message to like everyone to say, this is how
Mm-hmm.
we have to defeat these things, or you need to get away from here, or this is dangerous. And some people just chose to ignore that, and some people chose to heed that advice. But
Mm-hmm.
I know that because of the kind of character that Carl is, he's not gonna. This obviously is not going to sit well with him. This is going to fuck him up.
No. I mean, he has mentioned before that every time he sees the number goes down, he feels like part of himself is disappearing. Um,
Mm.
and without him knowing like how people on the surface are doing, I think to him it can feel like all of the people that he shares this experience with, which is separate from the people who survived on the surface, like that number, like he's had a divergence of experience with like a lot of humanity. Um, and so like the people that will understand him for the rest of his life, however long that is dwindling. But in a very like horrifying sense, the further he goes, the more he can depend on people, I think, because they've made it this far and proven themselves capable. This is a
That is
very
not the case so
this is a
far
very
in this
Darwinistic
bubble, though.
approach, but you're right. It's not
Yeah,
actually
but
true. It's
that is not what's happening in this bubble.
no,
No, no,
nope,
sir.
no. So the last thing we get in the notification is that, oh, the bounties on the top 10 players have doubled. So people are even more incentivized to betray Carl. Great. And Donut, and a lot of our favorite characters too. We go through the usual. Donut picks a new class. She takes a glass cannon, which is like a huge spell bonus class. It will make all of her spells a lot stronger for the floor. And there's also a 15 constitution increase. But remember, Donut's former childhood actor doesn't give her everything of the class, just some of it or most of it. She gets every benefit except the constitution bonus. And then she gets a couple.
Yeah, I had to know that was happening. That's like her whole thing.
Oh, your microphone just spat out like really fast. Like it was 2 times speed. No, you're good.
Ooh, that's crazy.
Okay.
No, I was just going to say, you had to know that was going to happen. She'd get the benefits, but not the benefits. So,
she picks up a sort of mage handy spell, but it's called Astral Paw. And Carl jokes with her like, oh, now you'll be able to knock things over off the top shelf. And then she also gets a Wall of Fire spell. We then they progress out into the quadrant, into a bubble. And I'm going to kind of explain a lot of what they learn in all of these 9 chapters kind of up front, so we can just talk about it all at once. But throughout the chapters, it's a really fun, just slowly peeling the onion, learning about what's going on. Lots of reacting to things, lots of talking to characters and finding ways to learn this information in interesting ways. But they learn through exploration and announcements that they are essentially in a sealed terrarium, and there's thousands of these that all the crawlers have been placed in randomly. And each has these various quadrants in them. Now, I don't know if it's actually the same 4 quadrants for all of the bubbles, but in this one, there's an air quadrant, a tomb quadrant, a land quadrant, and a sea quadrant. And then there's some rules. You cannot leave your quadrant until you've captured the throne room of your quadrant's castle. We learn that things that you do in your quadrant can and will negatively impact other quadrants in your bubble. And you cannot leave your bubble or take stairwells until all of the quadrants in your bubble have been captured. And then you cannot access other bubbles until they have also been cleared. Katya immediately asks the big picture question, as she's always doing this every floor. What's the point of leaving your bubble or going to bubbles that have already been cleared? So we don't find that out for quite a while. And in fact, I don't know if it's entirely clear what the benefit is later, but our crawlers end up having reasons to go later. Yes. So they are in the air quadrant, which is essentially like a sand bowl at the top of a tall mountain, and that mountain is the tomb quadrant. And the water quadrant is like below them, surrounding it like an island. So within their sand bowl, it features 2 towns, one of which is Hump Town, featuring some dromedarians, which are camel people. The dromedarians are in a VIP hostage standoff with gnomes that live in a flying castle above them, hence the air quadrant. That castle is where they need to capture the throne room of that castle. The gnomes are constantly threatening to bombard the dromedarians of Hump Town, as well as the other town that exists. Except each of the towns have a collateral person or character that the gnomes don't want to die. So they're in this perpetual, like, showing proof of life every day so that the gnome king won't bomb them. And the reason
I do want to point out.
Yes, please do.
Oh, God. Are we going to talk about why it was called Hump Town?
Yes, I was, but you do it.
No, you do it.
So the other reason that the city is called Hump Town is because there is a large population of changeling refugees, shapeshifters, kind of like Katya and Mordecai, but different. They are refugees, they are despised, and they work in a red light district as prostitutes for the most part. It is Hump Town.
It's in Hump Town.
It's a prostitute.
Not because of the camel.
It's a brothel town.
I love it.
Yes.
He literally says, "Why do you think it's called Hump Town?"
Yeah, it's very funny. We later learn, or later in these chapters learn, that the changelings, not only are they refugees working the red light district, but they also have infiltrated the government because they are shapeshifters. And this is also why they're hated, because they, something that it's like the Skrull in the Marvel films, the like green guys that can shapeshift.
Oh, yeah.
They are despised throughout the galaxy because people are inherently suspicious of them. Yeah. Yes, you pointed out in the chat, the bar that they hang in is called the Toe. There's lots of bars in this town with gross, funny names. Yeah. So the changelings have infiltrated the government and the town guard, and the dromedarians don't know it. And so that we, over a series of chapters, just kind of lay out, like, this is the foundation of the quadrant. Is there's this really tense, like, geopolitical standoff between some of these, like, cities. And then later we learn there's even more geopolitical stuff going on, but it's more of like a high fantasy nature with like gods and magical items and stuff, which we'll get to. The world has 2 weird suns that are like chasing one another. And at the end of the day, when one sun catches the other, there's like a big storm for a couple hours. And there's a rage mechanic that later on the suns will have always caught each other throughout the day. So there'll just be raging storms all day, and it'll be dark most of the time. And there's like
we learned that this is unique to their bubble, though, the 2 suns, and it's just projected, obviously, like onto the bubble itself, as each of the bubbles, or rather, like the contained worlds that all of the crawlers are in, are unique.
Yes.
And completely different to one another. So, like, the 2 suns is kind of like that's Carl and Katya and Donut thing.
Yeah.
And other worlds have strange tentacle monsters, and other worlds are overwhelmed with giant spiders. And
so I think really Miriam, cool. Dom, and Prepotente are dealing with spiders on roofs that they can't reach. Elle and Imani, like the Metal Arc team, are fucking around on boats and having a terrible time of
They're in a water
it.
quadrant.
Yeah, and
I do
in
think
fact,
the quadrants across the bubbles are all
that's
the
true.
same, as
That's
in like
true.
air, water, subterranean, and like a land quadrant. And I think that within those 4 quadrants, like they're unique across the board, like as to
Right.
what
Yeah. Like the
mobs they're
storyline
dealing
in
with,
each
and
bubble is
exactly
completely different.
completely different.
Which
Yeah,
is
super awesome.
really cool because it creates room to imagine like what's going on in different
Yes.
bubbles and write fan fiction or whatever. But
Please, somebody write fan fiction.
it also like it kind of weirded me out because I'm like, why did the Borant people write all of those, or did they like turn over the design to show like sub showrunners or something? It's completely unclear to me. Or did like the AI decide?
I think it's a healthy. I think it's a healthy dose of both the AI and the showrunners. I think the showrunners are like, all right, spiders, and then the AI takes over from there. But then but then there are moments, as we've seen in these next coming chapters, where the AI deviates from what the showrunners maybe anticipated or expected.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Carl, Donut, and Katya brought together as a party. They have been placed in a bubble with a lot of under-leveled crawlers, and like kind of the implication that they think is that the AI tried to balance it so that there was like an average level or capability of crawlers, like an average across bubbles. And so they put like 3 of the strongest crawlers in the dungeon with a bunch of like really underleveled and weak ones.
Yes.
Within their quadrant, they come upon some like underleveled archers, as well as a couple of really super drunk guys that they meet in one of the brothels, making one of the changelings turn in, like they're describing fictional characters from Earth for her to turn into, which is kind of gross and weird. And yeah. We catch up with Mordecai, who this floor is a skyfowl, but not the type of skyfowl he was. And
I think he's just happy to be a bird again, man.
I think he's a little happy to be a bird, but he's like a cleric class, like a rock skyfowl that's wings have been clipped, so he can't really fly. It's a little sad. He notes
the differences of his original race as being like, he's like, yeah, my race had bigger wings and we were handsomer and we're definitely more handsome, and just obviously. But I think at the end of the day, he's just happy to be back in a body that is recognizable to him. So
yeah.
And Carl asks, can you still make potions in this body? And he looks at him like, are you fucking dumb? Of course I can.
I can make a potion in any body. Challenge accepted.
Yeah, exact challenge accepted. Yeah, absolutely. I love Mordecai so much.
He's great. So
Miss Handsome Mordecai.
Miss Handsome Mordecai. There's a great image you can find, or there are lots of great images of like Mordecai and all of his bodies per floor. Lots of great fan art for that.
So fantastic. Yes, so good.
They head to their personal space at one point. Their cleaner bot has been cleaning for 2 days straight and is still cleaning all the blood from when they trampled through, or I think when Katya exploded, with the blood leaving her inventory. The bot beeps in agreement when one of them makes a comment that the bot needs a raise, which is really cute, giving a little personality to the bot. They have received lots of achievements and gear for in the last floor, summoning and surviving the god Grohl. Especially for Carl surviving being stepped on by the god, as well as when they sent the bomb to the abyss, they killed every single wall monitor mob and extincted them for that floor. So Carl gets a extinction achievement for doing that, which is going to both help and hinder a bit in the future. They get a deity box, a spicy box for getting stepped on, and an asshole box for the extinction level event of the wall monitors. Carl gets a really cool new item we haven't seen before, and there's essentially like a tag that he can add to projectiles, and he can program to like do homing projectile stuff. Which I think is really cool, especially given that they have an arrow that they need to shoot into a god's eye to make him or her or it or they not immune for 15 seconds. Katya has that bolt. And so I could imagine getting it into a god's eye might be difficult, but now they have the means to do that. They get like an invisibility potion. Carl gets a tattoo related to lizards that will affect their like damage, and natural predators of lizards will like him more, blah, blah, blah. Carl also gets a toe ring that lets him run on walls, as well as transfer debuffs to targets. And I remember the first time I read the book, I immediately clocked, the debuff from the Ring of Divine Suffering that makes it so you cannot heal, he can transfer that to other targets, which is really nice.
We have yet to see that, so I'm pretty excited.
Yes. No, that's I don't know. I will tell you when it happens. There's
up to book 7.
No, it happens. It does happen in book 5. Very early on.
To transfer the debuff?
Yes, he does.
From the Ring of Divine Suffering?
Yes. I will message you about it later. Yeah.
Please do, because now I have to go back and reread that. And I'm like, I don't recall. Okay.
I'll message you later. But then finally they get a potion to add +5 levels to a skill. Fortunately, Carl doesn't have to drink it now, and Mordecai tells him he should save it for when he gets one of his skills up to 15, so he can push it to 20. And because he's a primal, he can do that. He can push skills past 15. They connect with a crawler, Gwen, who is someone they met on the last floor. Gwen was the character who when Carl's like, hey, everybody, you need to abandon the stations. You're about to get overrun. And someone's like, yeah, right. I'm not going to do that. And then gets overrun and is, oh my God, why didn't he warn us how bad it would be? And Gwen's like, he did, you asshole. That was Gwen.
Yep.
She is in the land quadrant dealing with a sandcastle of the Mad Dune Mage. And she reports
Gwen is Lady Carl.
Huh?
Gwen is a lady version of Carl.
Gwen is a lady version of Carl in a sense. We don't get to like meet her in person again until later.
Right.
But she's very cool and
like her. I like her so much. Yeah.
She reports seeing some stuff going on in the water quadrant. At one point, she reports there being a submarine down there that dives down into the water. Carl heads out and makes friends with a child changeling in order to steal his telescope and keep tabs on the castle way up high in the sky. In fact, they don't even know where the castle is until they steal this telescope. And begin to like keep tabs on what's going on there. Katya is getting better and better and better. Her matching of other people, I think she tries to like imitate a dromedarian at one point here, and it's like a 95% match.
95%.
So she at this point really can change her label of like her level and her name, which is very scary. They get a marketplace upgrade for their personal space, so now they can buy and sell items between crawlers as well as non-dungeon entities like hunters and faction war people. And this is one of the big ways that the factions will gear up their armies and for crawlers to interact with them, which is very bad in the long run, we think about, but could have a short-term benefit for crawlers in the game, you know, making some money off of their loot. Donut absolutely hates it because she cannot negotiate the price with it like she has been able to do with babkas and shopkeepers, etc.
Right.
And the cookbook warns Carl to stay away from it because it probably uses a different algorithm for evaluating the value of items, and like there's just a fear that the cookbook will be noticed for what it is by that system. So Carl is like, I have to find a way to like leave this in my room when I go use the marketplace. So it was just like Matt Dinniman being clever about like, yes, I have these two cool things about the world that are in kind of like dichotomy with one another, and making Carl being like thoughtful about that makes him seem smart.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah, so they go out, they explore the quadrant a bit more. They learn about some of the monsters in the desert. They see that the castle has these like prop planes called drop bears that they can drop from the castle, and that they have bombs. They learn that the castle like moves around the dome on a schedule and rotates to different positions. And eventually, in order to get around the desert more quickly, because they are afraid of like the drop bears coming down and gunning at them while they're crossing the desert, they build a buggy, especially with the help of Katya, who has like her engine knowledge, like hobby skill. So they build a buggy. I
wrote Chopper Part 2.
Chopper, yeah, this is Chopper Part 2. They call it the Royal Chariot. Carl eventually, now that he has created some missiles, like creates like a holding device for anti-aircraft missiles, surface-to-air missiles, really, so that they can deal with the planes should they come down. And I think one of the first areas that like really captured my attention was the scene where they're building the Royal Chariot, and Katya is like reflecting on her hobby potion of like engine knowledge.
Right.
She says,
how it comes to her.
Yeah, I was sitting here wondering how the heck we're going to put this thing together, and suddenly it was just there. Do you think that aliens, you know, the ones not in the dungeon, can teach themselves stuff like this on demand, like in that Matrix movie? Like one guy out there can just take a few potions and suddenly he's a super genius in kung fu and piloting helicopters, which is really interesting technology to think about, like thinking about, you know, technology in the universe, who has access to it, how proliferated that technology is, or is it like reserved for certain people? And she goes on to say, that seems like it would have such a huge impact on society. If anyone can be an expert in anything, what does that even mean? It doesn't make sense to me how there's such, I don't know, cruelty. And Carl's the one who like steps in and is like, well, it's probably this way because it's crazy expensive. Only the ultra rich can use it. Maybe it's like plastic surgery. Only some people can afford it. And there's probably limitations. Like if you do it too much, bad stuff happens. And so like,
that makes sense.
Yeah, it's Matt Dinniman is having like a fun moment of like I've written this book, but like, what if the world was this way? And like looks at the that sci-fi trope of like transferable knowledge for a minute. I know like they explored it in the Matrix a little bit. There's an episode of Stargate SG-1 I love very, very much, where they have like nanites that they implant in children that do this. Yeah, it's like in one of the first or second seasons, I think, and it's really interesting and weird. Yeah, fun sci-fi trope moment. And it's really fun.
I would do it if I had the money. Would you? If you could become an expert in a thing without having to put in hours and hours of study and like practical application in order to become like an expert in that field, if you could jack into the Matrix and become an expert in Kung Fu, would you? Because I can tell you that I would.
Probably. I mean, it brings up also like for us, like the use of AI, especially in creativity.
Ooh, yeah.
You know, is it
Okay.
really human creativity if like you have a tool that's handing you a lot of like like you're able to cross so many hurdles without actually interacting with those hurdles because a tool is doing it for you. Excuse me. I mean, in this type of situation, like with technical knowledge on how to create something that's like practical, sure, why not? You know, Katya needs to be able to make this. She's not benefiting from going through the process of learning how to do it. Um, but when it comes to things like the arts and creativity and ingenuity, you know, that you know, those traits can get really stifled by handout technology.
You make an excellent point.
Yeah.
But is there anything that without this potion, like, is there anything that she doesn't have that someone, let's say, who did work as a mechanic, who did work with engines their entire lives, is there anything that they can do that she can't? Is there any sort of differentiation between the two?
I
It's
think
I don't know.
I wonder if like if someone came to her and was like, my engine's not running, it's making this noise. Is she going to be able to think creatively through like, oh, what are all the possible things it could be? Or, you know, what could be going on outside of my technical training due to user error or due to environmental factors or, you know, circumstances unrelated to the engine itself, like, you know, sand got in there or, you know, a squirrel that was hiding from the elements crawled up in there or something. Like, interesting to think about. Like, would she be able to think creatively about engines?
Or would she have to just like put her hand on it and then she would know how to fix it?
Mm-hmm.
Is it something that she can think about in oh my god, like in abstract terms?
Right.
To just
Yeah.
call upon it, or is it something that as she's working on it, boom, the knowledge appears
Yeah.
as a reaction?
Yeah. It clearly, it seems like she has to like kind of prompt her mind, and then either stuff is getting like loaded into her mind by the AI through like Wi-Fi esque technology, like beaming it into her brain as she needs it, or it's all been planted there and she just has to like find ways to access it. It's like it in the pre-show, you and I were talking about like the mind's voice and the mind's eye, and it's like how capable is her mind's eye and mind's voice at like leading her brain synapses to unlock the pathways she needs to find to be able to visualize what she needs. I don't know. It's very interesting and
it is so interesting to think about. Yeah.
But Matt Dinniman says, I'm interested in thinking about it only this far, and then moves on.
Fair, totally fair.
Yeah. But it is
like
fun to, because the crawlers don't have access to the greater galaxy except for through these like filters, to like, oh, this technology exists. What does that mean for the world? Yeah. So they are working on their engine. They're exploring in the buggy, and the only other town, the non-Dromedarian town, gets bombed. It is destroyed, and they later learned that it is due to crawler interference with that town's collateral. The collateral that they had got either killed or taken or messed with by some other crawlers in the Tomb Quadrant. And they later learned that it is the king's daughter's pig.
Yep.
And then because
affectionately named Sausage.
Yes, Sausage. But because of the threat of the bombing, Carl gets into chats with Mordecai about like, hey, how safe are safe rooms for NPCs? And what we really learn, or what it kind of boils down to, is safe rooms are only safe for NPCs if there are crawlers inside them. But it's a little more complicated than that, but it was like kind of hard to follow. And that I think was the only important thing. So we learned some stuff about safe rooms. We get a recap. Now, there's some really interesting things that happen here in the recap as we kind of explore what's been going on with some of the other crawlers. Much like how Prepotente and Miriam Dom got fucked over by Carl as they were trying to kill a province boss, we learned that they left, found another one, started to debuff it to kill it, and Quanch. I'm just going to call him Quanch from now on, by the way.
CH instead of Quan CH.
It feels like a character name from Rick and Morty, but I'm calling him Quanch.
Fair enough.
Quanch also fucked over Prepotente and Miriam, flying in with his robe, striking it with lightning, and then running away without killing it, fucking them over. So that happened, and it just kind of further illustrates Quanch is an asshole, and that Prepotente and Miriam's like techniques are very subtle and careful.
Yeah.
So it's some fun little characterization.
And then quite the same. Like they are as powerful as Carl and Donut are, but where I would say that Carl and Donut are bombastic and outrageous and a little bit crazy. Prepotente and Miriam Dom are thoughtful, and like everything that they do is there's a very patient plan in place behind it to potential like to help to keep them safe. Whereas Carl's like, we're probably going to die. Let's do it anyway.
I think it makes a lot of sense, because I would imagine for Miriam, when she was like on her own and had brought all of the goats in, that she would have made choices that would have protected her goats, because early on, she had no like Pokeballs to put them in, and like couldn't leave them in safe rooms, and would have to be very cautious and careful and like deal with things from a distance. And so it makes sense that her path and circumstances would have led to a situation where she is like very gently and cautiously and carefully from a distance debuffing monsters to kill them, so that she can safely walk past their bodies later.
I do love Miriam Dom, honestly.
She's wonderful, and we will get to interact with her more later. But there is a crawler we won't be able to interact with later. We see on the recap Florin, the shotgun crocodile, and Ifechi, the last survivor of that really large African militia, Le Mouvement. We learn were an item, and they ran into Lucia Marr, who is talking to someone that isn't there or that we can't see over her own shoulder. Lucia Marr and Florin threaten each other. Lucia basically like warns him, like, don't fuck with me, I'll kill your girlfriend. And she, without Florin realizing it, casts a reflection spell that redirects all of his attacks, and Ifechi dies in the process, killing her. And Ifechi gets the credit for the crawler kill. There was a point in the
Florin gets the point. For
Florin.
Ifechi.
Sorry, I got their names mixed up. But there was a moment in the last book where we heard like there was just like a bounty has been claimed, and we got no context for it. Here's the context.
It's so fucked up. It's so fucked up.
We see Florin enter the new floor. He's sitting in the room where Carl and Donut and Katya like rolled the dice to determine like their enemy and what quadrant they're in, and he just sits down crying. He does not participate, and that's the last we see of Florin for a while. And it's really effective because it just leaves us wondering like, oh shit, this like really stoic top 10 crawler, he's also dealing with like just the emotional weight of everything going on. Has he a very powerful and useful crawler to us potentially in the future, or maybe a big threat? Who knows? Like, has he given up?
I don't even know that I was thinking of it in terms of that. I was because like we as we're watching that scene, we get we get a little backstory like Afechi and Florin are together romantically.
Yeah.
Mordecai points out that the staff that Afechi has, like you can cast leeches like or whatever with it, and then like it'll drain the mobs dry, and then you can eat the leeches and get a bunch of buffs, and that Florin most likely chose his race based solely on
Yeah.
Afechi's staff that she
Yeah.
had. And then, so I don't know. I guess I was thinking more of it from like the emotional standpoint rather than like, oh, this really powerful crawler is like tapping out. But I was looking at it from like, oh my God,
Mm-hmm.
Florin. Okay, so technically, Florin was responsible for killing his love, someone that
Mm-hmm.
he loved and respected, his partner. Um, he's got the you know, player killer skull above his name.
Mm-hmm.
He's alone. He's alone in
He
the
is
dungeon now.
alone. That's
Um,
true.
and it's like, and I don't know. I guess like in this scene, I'm not saying I didn't think about. Well, I guess it was more from the perspective of like, what is the point in continuing? And this is something that we
Mm.
see with a lot of other crawlers, like when they have nothing, when they are alone.
Frank.
And these are just things, Frank, exactly. Like when you're alone, when you have no one left in your party, or there's no reason to continue,
Yeah.
how do you continue? What's the point? So yeah, Afechi or like Florin, he
It's
gets to the room where you have to spin the wheel to pick your quadrant, and he's just like, no, I'm
yeah.
not going to do
It's
it.
yeah, becoming
And
alone
yeah,
is like a death knell for a
yes,
character in the dungeon.
it's just it
Like
was.
no one is alone. Like who can we think of that's alone right now? Besides,
I
well,
mean,
like Lucia, kind of. She has her dogs, and then apparently someone over her shoulder, so she's not truly alone, I guess.
the voice in her head, absolutely,
Yeah.
sure, yeah, but like it is terrifying. And then Carl very smartly says, "Oh, his PR agent must be going fucking insane right now because
Oh, does he? I
obviously when
missed
you
that.
yeah, like when you reach the top 10, obviously you've got a PR agent, someone who's like telling you what you're, how you're coming across to fans and what you need to do and
Right.
how to bolster your image or whatever. So yeah, he's just like, no, I don't want to play your game anymore.
Yeah. I'm not
Again,
gonna. Yeah.
I think this all the time, like because obviously like I put myself in the position of these crawlers, and I'm like, if I didn't have okay, like if I didn't have my cat, if I didn't have my husband, what is the point? How do I go
Mm-hmm.
on? Do I want to go on? Doesn't matter. Who am I
Yeah.
fighting for? Me? I don't give a shit about me at that point. Let the world crumble.
Yeah.
Because all I'm thinking about is what I've lost. You know what I mean? Like it's just it was devastating.
It
And even
really
though we don't know
was.
Lauren and we don't know Fetchy at this point, we learn a little bit more about them as the books continue. But even though we don't know them, we can definitely. Well, I put myself in their position, and I was just like, "Yep, I fucking get it. I don't think I'd be
Mm-hmm.
able to keep moving on either." So it
Yeah.
was that was hard to read.
Yeah. Carl focuses on the like how mad Lucia Marr has gotten and how he's really glad he's not in a bubble with her.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
and how
she's
he
fucking
would
crazy.
normally he like reflects on like normally if I had run into her like in on Earth, we would want to get her a kid some treatment.
Some help.
But it's obviously more complicated because there is no help and she's killing people. And he even says like
Yes.
I will have to take care or like she will have to be taken care of. Um, and he then also says, I didn't want to admit it, but part of me was happy that there was nothing I could do about that right now. He's like, I think it's here where he starts to feel like there's only so much crap I can deal with at a time right now. Um, uh, and I think it's in this book that like cracks in Carl's psyche start to show, and this is one of them where he's like, I'm glad I don't have to deal with that. I wouldn't be able to handle that. Um, and it is interesting for Carl also, like when he's had such like a hard stance on like what to do about crawlers. Like I'm like, have to save these people. I have to kill this person. I have to kill that NPC. He's like kind of found a moral middle ground of like, I wish I could do something for Lucia Marr. Like, I feel sympathy for her, even though she is killing people. And I would normally try and do something, but the situation, he's like wishing the situation were different. And I think that he's getting there where he's like imagining alternatives and wishing they were true, because he's starting to not be able to like handle what is in front of him, even though he's so good at handling what is in front of him. I don't know. That's kind of how I read the scene, is like Carl is showing a crack here. I loved it.
It's interesting because like I guess like from the very first book, like there have always been cracks, but I can't even say that there wasn't time for reflection. But like we've talked about before, Carl's talent for avoiding hard talks, even with himself, his ability to like disassociate and be like, bigger fish to fry, is fucking incredible. That's a superpower all on its own.
Yeah.
So like when you say like cracks, like his I'm hearing that as like his inability to like lie to himself is starting to it's starting to wither.
I think it's also like for 3 books we've seen him like rationalize things to deal with them, and also build up walls and barriers like higher and higher and higher to deal with the things around him, and like build his mantras of like, you won't fucking break me, blah blah blah. But it's here it doesn't feel like he is rising to meet this new level of bullshit. He's like, I can't handle this, and I'm glad I don't have to.
He's tired. It's becoming he's being overwhelmed.
Yes. And
more so than usual.
Yeah. And it's here I'd like to put a pin in a new plot thread, and that is Carl is overwhelmed. Like this is going to start to grow and grow and grow. Not just in this book, but over the next few books.
Oh yeah.
So
are we talking about the river?
Well, yeah, the river. Yes. This is the first drop in my mind, or an early like dribble of the river, which we will get into what that means next book.
Fair enough. I love it.
Yeah. There's another announcement after the recap. Borant, we're back to bathroom rules, everybody. Borant asks that crawlers announce if they're going to do business outside, and to wait 5 seconds before they do it after announcing it. It's just, oh my God. It made me wonder, like, is this what they do in like Survivor or Naked and Afraid? Like, do the contestants have to announce themselves because either like there's cameras planted or there's crew following them?
Just imagining some naked fucking stockbroker screaming into the sky, I have to make, and then waiting, and then like for the cameras to get away.
I'm doing a poopy.
I have to. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So it's at this point that Carl starts to recruit and organize other crawlers within his quadrant to kind of like figure out what's going on and start delegating tasks. He meets up with a group of archers. Their leader is a named character. I didn't write down his name, but they're all like car salesmen, or I think, and they all chose an archer class. Carl remarks that it's like so stupid that they didn't diversify, and that they're all just like uniform. And then there's the 2 drunk guys who are making. So their names are, I believe it's Fierce.
Louis and Faraz.
Louis and Faraz. They're like incredibly low level, super drunk. They're the ones making a changeling. Her name is Juicebox, which is just a great name for a character.
I love Juicebox.
Change into the various characters. Juicebox, I love how such a slow roll Juicebox is as a character. You don't even realize how important she is because she's just doing this stupid bullshit in a brothel.
She's Jessica Rabbit, or she's like a cartoon mouse, or she's
they do Slave Leia Organa.
Oh yeah. And then the Baroness from G.I. Joe, and I mean, so Juicebox is a prostitute, obviously, and she is a changeling.
Mordecai points out that she is actually extremely powerful and dangerous, and is probably very important to the story. We get this like reminder about like, I think this is like the second or third time that Mordecai goes over like all the different types of shapeshifters, like the different races. We're reminded that the Voltae themselves are not shapeshifters, but brainworms that can reactivate a corpse. There are other parasitic creatures, including infiltrators, who are more insidious. We are not told how they are more insidious. And it is not explained for the second time in a row. That definitely won't come up.
Probably fine. Probably just a throwaway. Yeah.
Mordecai proceeds to, upon Carl's request, rapid detox Fierce and Louis, who proceed to violently expel drugs and alcohol out of their bodies and say, not cool, man, not cool. We learn a little bit more about these two's ability and how they've managed to survive so long in the crawl. And they have perhaps an even more incredible combo. Well, no, this is not more incredible than Miriam, Dom, and Prepotente. But they have like this a class that I think it's called Exterminate, like Bug Exterminator, that like superpowers gas spells or cloud attack spells. And they basically have survived by pacifying monsters with an incredibly strong boosted pacify cloud spell and then puddle jumping away. And their puddle jump is better than Donuts. Like the cooldown is much faster. So they've just like had a survival technique that has really worked for them.
Instead of killing the mobs, they've just been running away, which is why their puddle jump is so high level.
They've leveled these spells, but not themselves because they're not getting XP.
Right. They put the mobs to sleep and then run away instead of like killing the mobs and getting experience. And that worked for the lower level floors, but it's not going to be
gonna work moving forward. And Carl is like basically giving them a chance. I don't know if they realize it quite yet, but he's like, this is your last chance. Like, you're going to die. And I think, like Frank, they had kind of resigned themselves to just, dying at some point and just like enjoying it as long as they could, which is why they've been hanging out in bars and pubs and enjoying the entertainment that the dungeon has to offer.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally understand.
So he recruits and organizes all these people, and they form a kind of larger party informally and use all of their skills to break into town hall tactical breach wizard style. And they learn about the collateral held in the basement. They meet that collateral. It is a gnome called Winnie or Win, who is being tortured by the dromedarian leader, who we later learn is Juicebox's brother in disguise, as a dromedarian named Henrik. And Henrik is trying to get Winnie to cast a spell that will make a ghost boss in the tomb quadrant have flesh. And that's good for the changelings because they can turn into anything that they have touched. So they want to turn Quetzalcoatlus into flesh so that they can, add it to their library. It's a little complicated and weird. And there's a lot more discussion about it, but that's kind of...
Yeah, we learn a little more about that later from Juicebox. But ultimately, but that's one of the better, the more motivations, wonderful things about them.
Yeah, the motivations are a lot more complicated. And Carl is, throughout all these chapters, constantly has a nagging feeling like, there's got to be more to this. And it's the same kind of nagging feeling that they had all throughout the fourth floor with the Iron Tangle. There's got to be more to this. There's got to be more to this. Well, there always is. Yeah. And it's really good, but we're not quite there yet.
And we're not quite there yet. But one of the things I just to point out, and if this class of mob, this NPC rather, the changelings, they can turn into whatever they have touched.
Yes.
They touch it, they can become that thing, and they take on maybe not all of the powers or characteristics of that mob or creature or whatever, but they have some of them.
Yeah, they could they could turn into a werewolf and then turn someone else into a werewolf and then become not a werewolf. It's fucking crazy.
An amazing class. Anyway, yeah. I had to point that out because I'm like, oh, fucking dope.
Could you imagine
so much?
How scary someone as clever as Carl would be if he had chosen that, or
like tapping everyone, just like getting up close enough to touch them and
then like become them, and then gain their power. Yeah, it's fucked. Anyway, right as they meet Winnie the gnome and learn a lot of information from him, they are approached by the tomb quadrant crawlers who arrive in the same room but from below. And we learn that Carl has fucked them over because Carl took a map that disintegrated when he touched it, and they were trying to get the map as well. And in fact, it is a map of their quadrant, and Carl has fucked them over. And then they fuck over Carl by killing Winnie.
Yeah. They ruin his quest.
So Carl receives a quest to like deal with Winnie, and then they kill Winnie, and he gets the achievement total utter failure. You failed a quest less than 5 minutes after you received it. Now that's talent. Reward. So
you don't get rewards.
Carl's pissed at these guys, and they have to flee because the Dromedarians / changelings are like fighting their way back from a distraction, and they're about to get discovered. They puddle jump out, and City Hall is destroyed of Humptown. Quote, "You keep destroying government buildings, Carl," Donut said. "People are going to start thinking you have a problem with authority." Oh yes, they're going to just start. They do some more planning. They decide that there's like a boss, a massive cyborg steampunk bird with a massive chainsaw called Ruckus that has been harassing the land quadrant, but also migrates around the entire bubble. They want to go kill it because it's like causing problems for Gwen. So they start to plan on how to deal with that. They get their new sponsors. Donut is applauded by Zev for commanding the highest bid for sponsorship of any crawler ever. Carl gets a sponsor that is a pacifist anti-crawl nonprofit group.
Yep.
Which is very odd. Mordecai's like, don't expect much from them. They basically only ever sponsor for the publicity. They like never ever really send any gifts, so don't expect anything from them. They're just going to try and use your stardom to recruit for their cause, which is amazing because that is immediately subverted in the next chapter. Matt Dinniman is so great at setting up expectations to just completely subvert them. And yeah.
Oh God, I love it.
Donut gets sponsored by a toy maker.
We get a robot donut.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're told here that like she's gonna get a prototype of a new toy, which gets delivered later. They ask about, they're talking to Loida, not Zev. Zev is gone missing at the end of the last book. So Donut is of course asking after Zev, and Loida is just ignoring them and being shitty to them. And then Carl also receives a pill. I might be breaking up or combining different scenes together, but
that's fine.
The Volte send Carl another pill that on his UI he can now see elevation and airspeed. And Donut gets an improvement for her sunglasses. We learned that this is a common tactic of sponsors, is to send an item that is kind of weak, but then send lots of like improvements to it. And then ultimately you get a legendary quality item by the end, but it cost a lot less than it would have to send it up front.
Like a legendary or celestial item.
Yeah, exactly.
Like up front in the beginning. Exactly. Yeah. So, you know, like when Donut is asking after Zev, when they're confronted with Loida, we really got it. I think I don't think we met Loida very briefly at the end of the last book, when she was having an altercation, let's say, with Audette. And Audette and she are going from like red-faced fucking screaming at each other to like laughing and like, let's do lunch.
They're just doing Mean Girls is what they're doing.
They are doing Mean Girls, but like they each have their role to play. Loida is essentially a fish Nazi. She's a member of the Bloom, and we have the understanding that the Bloom are a very bad people. They want to control how people think, how people feel. They want everyone to be like them. It sounds very similar to. Anyway, I'm not going to get super political, but reading is political. People, get with the time.
We haven't. The description of the Bloom has been very lackluster. Like we get that they're like shitty and rude and mean, and that they're a technology company that made like the telegraph, basically.
We get more of a description of what the Bloom really
we'll get that later
in the last chapters for sure. But but all you really need to know is that Loida is a piece of shit, and that Zev has gone to re-education to learn what it means to be a Kuatin, and what is important to you, and you're betraying your people essentially if you think this way, so you need to think our way. Donut will not drop it. She's like, where's that?
Loita's constantly like telling them what to do and not do. She's constantly just calling them crawler. It's like calling like prisoner, like
exactly.
You're a number to me. You're not a person to me.
It takes away their humanity and their agency. She doesn't think of them as like sentient people with rights or feelings. She doesn't even think of them as like she doesn't even think of them as like I mean, we utilize the term like, oh, treat me like a human being for God's sake. You know what I mean? Like you know what I mean? But she doesn't even look at them as being.
She offers no
like
dignity.
Creature, really.
Yeah.
Exactly. A total lack of dignity.
Yeah.
They are objects. They are slaves. They are materials.
Yeah.
And that's all they are to her. So fuck Loida. Anyway, that's my 2 cents.
So after go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, like, I after this, is this when we get the notification that the water quadrant?
So no, I have a bit more to get through for that.
Right on.
So they get their new sponsors, and then like a chapter later, they start to get some of their sponsorship gifts. I think Donut gets the sunglass improvement, and Carl gets like a root vegetable from the pacifist group. And I don't think Mordecai says this here, but this is like one of perhaps the most it's a different I'm thinking of a different gift he gets. But anyway, there is no clear purpose to this. The AI's description of it is like, this is a root vegetable, quit fucking wasting my time. Fuck you. Mordecai's like, I have no idea. I'll start researching or like looking through my notes for any alchemical purposes. And Donut gets the sunglasses, which they realize they can use to detect changelings because their heads are going to be hotter. Her sunglass improvement detects heat and temperature of surfaces, which we start to like get the notion that benefactor boxes can be critically valuable, both as like the items. It's like here's a just-in-time thing that you need to deal with a problem that you know that you need to deal with. But even more importantly, here's a solution to a problem you don't know about yet. It is a form of communication about stuff that might be going on that crawlers are not aware of.
I wanted to ask you about this. Is this okay? So, in your opinion, with these upgrades that are coming, just like what you said, here's something that might be coming up. Is it that Princess Donatia said, "Okay, I'd like to send an upgrade to Donut," but she doesn't get to determine what that upgrade entails because Princess Donatia doesn't know what the rest of the floor is going to entail or what she might need? Or is it, that Princess Donatia is like, in the know, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, hey, you should probably know that their heads are hotter? Or is it just like she's saying, I'm going to pay for an upgrade for these glasses for this crawler that I'm sponsoring, and then the AI determines what that upgrade is going to be based on.
No. The sponsors get to decide what it is. And in the second half of the book, Carl has something that was specifically designed for him, sent to him, and there's even a marking on it that says like this was designed for Carl by so and so.
I wonder. I wonder if it's both, because I get the sense that Donatia, while she is a sponsor for Donut, is not.
So
I don't know. She's not as hands-on as some of the other sponsors are. You know what I'm saying?
Sure. So there might be like the AI might generate the item, like materialize it, but I think the sponsors at least get to decide what is created. Like that root vegetable, they probably didn't like harvest it from that's a magic item in the game. So they probably are just like, we want that magic item from, the catalog of items. Send that. The glasses, they're probably like, hey, AI, create an item that Donut can wear that has, that it falls within this template of a vision item that has all these potential upgrades. So it's probably like a bit of both. But we'll get to it. But the thing that Carl gets sent later in the book is like designed. Like they probably did like, a 3D print this. Here is the model.
Yes.
Because I think the AI also like there would be a problem if sponsors could like, like here, hand them this item. Cause like, what if there's something hidden in it that shouldn't be going in? So it's interesting because the whole sponsorship like gets you questioning like how does this actually work? It's very interesting. So they go to the Desperado Club. They meet more of the people from the tomb because they can use those situational spaces to meet, even though they are physically prevented from going to each other's quadrants right now. They can still meet at the Desperado, which is useful. Carl knows and reflects on the fact that like we need to support these guys so that they can efficiently deal with the quadrant because we have too much to deal with ourselves. But these guys are really stressed out. They're underleveled. There's tons of traps in the tomb quadrant. I think later in the book, Carl reflects on like those guys were dealt the worst hand in terms of what the quadrant, like what they had to deal with in the quadrant, but there are traps everywhere and they have one guy that can disarm traps and he's
basically like a rogue class or whatever.
But they're sending other people ahead to scout for the traps because the rogue, the only person that can disarm them, can't spot them all. So they're like actively losing people trying to find the traps. And they're all like on the verge of breaking down essentially, especially the spy. Carl destroyed their map, but it gave his entire party the map of the tomb. So Katya, being the artist that she is like she stays with them drawing out by hand a map for the tomb crew, and it's basically trying to help them out. And this is like a small version of the like let's work together This is a local in the bubble. Let's work together to figure this out. So they're connected with Gwen in the land quadrant. They're connected with the tomb crew. We still don't know what's going on in the water quadrant at this point. Carl really wants to push these guys. They seem like they want to just be wait and rescued, but they can't afford to. And it's at this point we learn about bringing Quetzalcoatlus flesh so that the changelings can complete their library. But Quetzalcoatlus, we learn from the tomb guys, is a horrifying ghost running around the tomb like a banshee. Yeah, so we kind of just learned that the tomb guys are in over their head, but that they're going to do their best to help them out. Carl wants to head out and go test his projectile, his targeting missiles. So they steal the telescope from the orphan at this point. They also connect with that kid and offer to pay other NPCs to take shelter in the only, I'm going to say, safe zone.
Right.
And they use so they put the kid to work going to find NPCs to protect. The notion of like Carl wanting to protect NPCs but then also kill NPCs gets a little kind of complicated and confusing in this book. But
yeah,
Carl's like, there are children, there are changelings, I want to help them because they could be useful to me. And they're particularly powerful, so why not? But they use the royal chariot, they go after Ruckus, they shoot missiles at him from really far away, but the seeking quality works. But the missiles stop a little short for some reason. I don't remember why. They learn that Ruckus, like there's a pause as they like look at the tooltip of Ruckus, and we get this really long description of him being an NPC of the treasure hunter, of the submarine and the water quadrant.
He's a bereft minion.
Yeah, Ruckus is that guy, that captain's attempt to thwart the other tomb raiders. There are NPCs in every quadrant trying to get into the tomb for various reasons. They learn about an artifact in the tomb called the Gate of the Feral Gods. Hey, that's the thing. That's the name of the book. It's an artifact. There is a sudden freeze of the world. Carl thinks it's the boss battle starting, but it's only for half a second. And then there's like, it starts up again. Mordecai's like, usually freezing happens when conflicts need to resolve themselves. It's the system just like trying to figure it out. Stay away from anything feral, but it is weird that the AI is suggesting there's an artifact in the tomb. Those usually don't show up till at least floor 8. And Carl's like, I can't help but notice we're on floor 5. And he's like, stay away from feral. Anything that says feral, stay away from it. The showrunners want to control, he explains that the showrunners get to control the story, like the narrative of the floor, but the AI controls the rewards and loot for fairness, for the sake of fairness. So they begin to get really worried that they're up against something really tough because the AI is offering them a very powerful item. And suddenly Ruckus, who was sleeping across the dome, across the quadrant, is charging them. There's a sudden complete shift in its behavior as a result of the freezing. It has, Carl describes it as having the wingspan of 3 train cars, which I laughed at. We're using train cars as our frame of reference now. Thanks, Iron Tangle. And after the freezing glitch, the AI description of Ruckus is completely different. It is bare bones now. And so we're left wondering, like, did the AI overshare? Did it change the narrative? No, we just got explained it can't do that. So we're left wondering like why there was this weird glitch. And at the same time, Gwen reports that there is like bubbling happening under the surface where the submarine went underwater.
Right.
Yeah. So a bunch of weird stuff are happening all at the same time, and we're just kind of confused about what's going on here. They proceed to have a boss fight with Ruckus, though. It's basically okay. We are back. So there was the freezing glitch,
Right.
with the world freezing for like that weird half second. We at the same time learn from Gwen that stuff is happening in the water quadrant, like water is bubbling up from where the submarine went underwater.
Right.
And there's suddenly like the AI's description of Ruckus is completely different. It's like very bare
Uh-huh.
bones, and we're left wondering like, did the AI overshare? Did the narrative get changed? No, that couldn't be because the showrunners control the fiction, not the AI. So we're left kind of like confused about what's going on. And I'm still not exactly sure what's going on and what happened here, but I know it's because there's a lot of connected pieces. But suddenly Ruckus is charging them and they have a boss fight. I wrote, this is what if Master Chief running around in a warthog in Halo was having like an October Sky, like, I want to learn about missiles and how do rockets work. There's just like lots of missile mechanics as the bird is chasing them with a giant chainsaw. But it's a fun, scary, badass fight. And meanwhile, they are in the royal chariot driving around, and Katya is the one driving. At one point, they're about to tip over, and she just reaches out and adds mass to her hand to like counterweight them, and it's really cool. Yeah, they manage to blow up the bird. They take the chainsaw, and the water quadrant has been liberated by none other than Chris. He's here in the quadrant.
He's in their bubble. He's in their bubble.
Or not their quadrant, their bubble. Yeah. It's like shocking. It's shocking and exciting and cool. And it suddenly feels like this problem that has been out there for a whole book, where we've just been like, where is Chris? What's going on with Chris? We only have these little insights into like his behavior, but not what's actually going on. It's gonna come to a head. We know this.
Yeah, absolutely.
But ultimately, we come out of these first 9 chapters with just like a big sense of what's going on locally on the floor for our crawlers, and that there's a lot of other crawlers are dealing with their own things in their own bubbles. And we have a good grasp on some new mechanics, and we have new sponsors. We've met some new crawlers and NPCs that are really exciting and interesting and unique. Yeah, it's just a good set of world building chapters. And then so in the first 9 chapters, it is not Carl's quadrant and Donut's quadrant that gets dealt with. It is Chris has dealt with the water quadrant. That's the first of the 4 cleared. And they are still building towards clearing the air quadrant. They have tested their missiles. There's a lot of talk about Carl's not sure the missiles will be able to reach all the way up that they need to get to, but he's kind of forming a plan. So we get the next set of chapters, 10 through 16, which is ultimately the resolution of the air quadrant. I titled this cluster The Castle Assault. But it starts with just kind of like a hodgepodge of interactions. Carl kind of just recaps what's going on with Chris and all the change that he's gone under. Carl like kind of restates that right now he's afraid of Chris. Things about Chris feel dangerous. And again, Carl is feeling like emotionally overwhelmed with just like the emotional burden of everything that is going on. He has reached his limit with all like the intercrawler betrayal and intercrawler threats. Like we have enough to deal with the dungeon itself and the factions and the governments, blah, blah, blah. This is too much. But he chats with Amani via text message, and she's not sure. She begs Carl, like, whatever you do, please don't kill him. He's still Brandon's brother. And they have an emotional chat. But Carl then recenters. He's like, we need to reach or destroy this castle. I've been playing along with the storyline to kind of explore what options are available to us. It feels wrong at this point to let the town get bombarded. Now that their collateral is dead, that's probably going to happen, but let's see what we can do. And let's explore and see if the castle like will land or if we can find another way there. Mm-hmm. So he chats with Henrik, who we've learned is Juicebox's brother, but it has taken the form of the Dromedarian's leader. He kind of explains the whole proof of life process and how they go about that. And how he's not sure what they're going to do now that the collateral is dead. But he explains that it involved this like watch that the gnome king has another watch that it like they can talk to each other through. And there's some sort of like pairing that goes on. And that's how they do proof of life.
Yeah.
And Henrik explains that the gnomes will sometimes send an emissary basically to verify that there's no changeling nonsense happening. And so Carl kind of reflects on this and doesn't explicitly say that that's what they're going to use to move forward. But he's like, well, this is, built into the plot. So we can probably use it. So there's lots of developments as they kind of game plan how to dupe the emissary that's going to come down from the gnome flying castle. The tomb quadrant is filling with water suddenly. Right. Juicebox has gone into their safe room with like 40 children, including dromedarians, changelings, and some other kids. And she's basically being their babysitter. This pisses Mordecai off, which is hilarious. And he has been keeping the fact that he actually has access to the TV with a bunch of Earth movies built into the entertainment system. So he puts on Toy Story.
Donut immediately notices.
Yeah, Donut's like, oh my God, I could have been watching my shows. And Mordecai's like, this is why you're too busy. This is why I didn't tell you.
Exactly.
I'm going to put a pin in Toy Story. I'm going to come back to this pin. I think this is very clever writing. The fact that he chose Toy Story of any movie he could have chosen to show these children. Juicebox gets built up more here, and it's revealed that she's like a really critically important NPC. Not through our Carl's conversation with her. She asks them to protect her people from bombardment, and that she will tell them more. And they get a quest. Like this is the AI being like, yeah, this NPC is really important. They get a quest to save Humptown. The reward will be a quest box, a charisma bonus with changelings, and the AI's undying respect because, quote, there's no way in hell even you can pull this one off.
Right.
The AI doesn't even believe it. And it's a fun reminder that the AI like has moments where it's like really helping Carl out, and then also moments where it's just clearly not rooting for Carl.
Or it wants to see what sort of like, chaos it can sow.
Maybe it's pushing Carl. Maybe it's a
new life form also. Let's not forget. It is growing and learning as we are growing and learning, as Carl and Donut are growing and learning. But at an exponential rate. So it's like maybe it's pushing the boundaries. And it's like, oh no, am I going to kill my toy? Am I going to break my toy? Well, let's find out what happens if I drop it off the roof. Let's find out.
Let's find out what happens if the AI drops its toy off the roof. So Carl gets a or opens one of his fan boxes. It's a roll of magically replenishing duct tape. He asked for it a long time ago, and the fans heard him. Yeah. And then some of the drop bears and a hot air balloon descend from the castle, and they meet up with Leon the negotiator, who is extremely racist towards changelings, and also the dromedarians, but mostly changelings. And we're wondering how they're going to dupe this negotiator, and none of the plan has been provided to us, the reader. Like it is just revealed to us in media res, like throughout the plan. It's a fucked up plan. They have taken the head of the corpse of Win the gnome. They are using Donut's
collateral.
Yeah, the collateral's head. They have reanimated it with Donut's spell. Katya is has extended her body to take the shape of the body of Wynn, which is the head is duct taped to her imitation of the body. And she is taking the form of Henrik and the form of other props in the scene. Which is
from my notes for this one, I wrote Katya is all the things.
Katya is all the things.
Katya's everything.
It's just really clever and fun and cool. And they don't even reveal that Katya was all these things until like long after it's been mentioned in the scene that those things were there, which is really funny. But their plan is, so Henrik, aka Katya, is here, and so is Wynn. And Carl slices the neck of Henrik, but it's just like a blood bag on the body of Katya in the form of Henrik. And they basically murder they murder Henrik in front of Leon to ingratiate themselves to him and promise that they have a way to heal Wynn, who they claim has used his spell on Quetzalcoatlus and has caused him to go into a stupor, which is in line with the fiction. Like, apparently casting that spell would do something like this to him. But it's all a facade. And they want to ride up on the hot air balloon. And so it works. They dupe Leon, even though he hates them and is like still suspicious of them. But it's this just fun whole chapter of like it's like a will it work? Will the guy notice sort of standoff negotiation? It's very fun and a very cool chapter. So they rise up in the hot air balloon with Leon, who tells them more about the Mad Dune Mage in the Land Quadrant and how the mage has the third piece of the Gate of the Feral Gods, and it is really dangerous. Suddenly they initiate their plan, and a bunch of their crawler archer friends, as well as Fierce and Louis, unleash a bunch of missile barrage attacks, destroying a bunch of the escort planes as they're riding the balloon back up to the castle. Donut uses her new hole spell from the last floor to open up the bottom of the hot air balloon, dropping all of the gnomes out of it while they hold on for dear life. And then the castle starts sniping at their balloon. Carl uses his protective shell to save them, and it turns out that ammunition is some sort of living creature, which is gross because blood just sprays as it hits his shit shell. And then ultimately Carl fires some missiles of his at the castle, and it like destroys a bunch of bombs that they have, which causes a chain reaction and destroys most of the floating fortress that they have. They use a potion from Mordecai called Dolores Doesn't Splat to jump out of the balloon and basically boing, 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 Coyote Roadrunner style, like Looney Tunes style, and basically belly flop without taking damage. And they get a congratulations from the AI. They complete the quest. The AI...
Is it really a congratulations from the AI?
Well, yeah,
though?
It's funny. It says quest complete. So for being technical here, you won the quest. You saved Humptown from the bombardment. Congratulations. If I was allowed to upgrade your prize, I would. Maybe. I don't know. Actually, you know what? No, I wouldn't. Fuck you, says the AI.
I love it.
So they destroy the castle. However, one piece of the castle, a house, is floating on a giant balloon up like the movie Up style, and it is at the top of the bubble, and that is the throne room. They saved the town, but they didn't destroy the throne room or capture it.
They saved the town and they eliminated the defenses.
Yes,
which
exactly.
is a great first step.
It is a good first step.
The throne room, but
no,
they're halfway there.
It's here as they're figuring out what to do next. Zev comes back. She is acting, or is completely brainwashed. She is calling them crawler. She is like acting like Loita does. She is just their social media manager and works for Loita. She's giving them tips. Donut is a nervous wreck during this scene. She is upset that she cannot message Zev directly anymore. And their interaction with Zev ends with Zev saying, Now get back out there and kill. She is
Mm.
using Cascadia's line. Yeah. It gives me chills. It's like menacing. It's scary. We don't know what has happened to Zev, who we like, even though she is a Kuatin, but like Donut likes her, so we like her.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
She likes Gossip Girl. She has feelings. She has thoughts. So,
Matt Dinniman has done a lot of work to get us to really like Zev, and it is paying off here because we're really anxious about what's going on with her.
Absolutely. With every "go fuck yourself, Zev," and then her chuckle in response, we're just like, all right, she's all right.
Yeah.
She's okay.
Yeah.
We like Zev. Yeah.
And she's gone through some shit that we don't know about.
Not yet.
And then we get chapter 13. This is just like a really big chapter, like an AI chapter. The AI's personality is becoming more and more like independent. And it's definitely not here to help in this chapter. We continue to get sassy like achievements and remarks from the AI that are just like they keep saying fuck you to Carl. And he reflects the system AI was always fluctuating back and forth from adoring to outright hostile. But this was the moodiest I'd ever seen it, and I didn't know why. Sure, the thing was bipolar at best and psychotic the rest of the time. But ever since we'd blown the wasteland to hell, there was something off with it that was not good. Even he at one point he looks at like a gnome corpse that had fallen from the sky, and it's labeled gnome corpse killed by falling from a great height with an assist from crawler bitch boy Carl.
Bitch boy Carl, absolutely. And Katya's like, what the fuck? Like, because she can read the same description. She's like, what the shit is going on? So then, we discover that we've discovered
the reason why the AI is being so shitty. They find some of the ammo that the gnomes had, and it turns out their bullets are capsules full of frenzied gerbils. The boss from the first floor that we were told would be common on future floors. The one that Carl squished with his foot, the AI groaned and the dungeon shook. We were promised there would be more, and here they are. The AI has blue balls.
Yeah.
The AI has blue balls.
How could you leave him in such a state, Carl?
They're all like, oh, Carl, this is what the AI wants. You denied it the chance to get its rocks off.
You have to pay the daddy tax.
And you know what? Carl at first refuses to capitulate. The AI generates swarms and swarms of frenzied gerbils to attack Humpdown, like a plague from Exodus.
Katya's like, we have, at the moment that Carl is like, you know what? No, fuck this. I don't want to do this. Katya immediately says, we have incoming, and it's a cloud.
It is a cloud.
Sandstorm of frenzied gerbils. And he's like, God damn it.
Yeah. And we get this like really truncated like assault on Humptown and them fighting for a long time. And they are just exhausted. Like Carl gets exhausted. They become so exhausted that the AI wins. Carl gives in. New achievement. You're the reason why daddy drinks. You have, for an unspecified reason, raised the ire of the system AI. You have corrected the issue and everything is back to normal. The acceleration action has been suspended. This time, good boy. Reward, you've received a gold makeup sex is the best sex box. Carl responds, you're not going to break me. Fuck you all. I will break you. But this isn't an issue with Boren. This is an issue with the AI.
Oh, yeah.
Which I don't think Carl realizes has the power to accelerate him and make its own decision to do that, which is nuts. But is also like its own personality. And it's really scary.
We see more of that. We learn more of that in the coming books. And the way that the AI functions. But at this point, Carl is not, he's just like, God damn it. Like he doesn't fully understand the scope of the AI at this point.
No.
But the AI does ask, will you rub your feet on the dungeon walls? We don't know. You know, like
so far over the course of the series learned like little bits about how AIs work, and we keep getting these messages that like this is unusual, this is unusual, this is not normal, usually this happens much later. And like with this happening now, we begin to really paint a picture that the characters aren't quite painting yet. They just know that the AI is you know, harassing them essentially.
Yeah.
So from the makeup sex is the best sex box, Carl actually receives what I have written is perhaps the second most important item in this entire book. Though that won't become apparent until much later. Mordecai advises him to sell it. It is called the Coffee Shop Author Kit, and he can basically use it to make scrolls, like magic scrolls, to sell. Carl is not a magic user, so that's not going to happen. But it creates like an additional like tab for him to write in, and whatever he writes on this tab appears on the paper, and vice versa. Interesting. Okay, cool. Okay. Whatever. All right.
We'll tuck that away in our back pockets.
Yeah, we'll tuck that away in our back pocket. It's surprising because oftentimes when Carl receives an incredibly powerful item, he's already like thinking about how he can use it.
Yep.
Or even not that powerful items. But I think because Carl is so exhausted, we don't get that moment here because he's not thinking about it.
No,
and the way
not.
Carl is going to use this becomes apparent long after he has already started using it, which is very fun and cool.
So good. Anyway, okay.
So at this point, Henrik has left to go into the tomb. Donut gets her special edition, nearly indestructible robot toy version of herself, and she is so incredibly delighted. This little robot donut toy is like making Donut and Garfield quotes. And
I love lasagna, Carl. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's very funny. I'm sorry, Carl, the robot said, her head turning 180 degrees to look at me. The void is wet and hungry. So it's saying donut things and Garfield things, but then it's also like being like a creepy possessed doll.
So creepy. So creepy.
Mongo immediately chomps and decapitates the toy.
Yep.
It is hilarious. And that continues to be a running gag, I think like 3 or 4 more times. The toy gets destroyed, and they keep sending more and more robust versions of the toy.
Yes.
As a pet owner of dogs who love to shred their toys, I appreciate and understand this bit that Matt Dinniman's going for.
The idea that there is an indestructible prototype anywhere is laughable.
Yeah.
You know.
I think at some point later, Zev's like, well, it's unrealistic to expect it to be indestructible because, you know, you have the strength of like 20 men and Mongo has the strength of like 20 real velociraptors, which are already incredibly strong.
Yeah. It's not meant to be within like the containment zone.
No.
And like dealing with like overpowered humans who are participating in the crawl. It's meant to be like enjoyed by like children and babies who are outside of the containment.
Yeah, there's a lot into the like economy and politics of the galaxy that we learn as a result of these toys later. It's amazing. But it like is presented as like this funny little bit, and Matt Dinniman is so good about like wrapping these incredibly deep and critical and fun and interesting and deep fiction, like character and fiction and world building, and just wrapping it with funniness, like funny bit, but it like working really well. Okay. And then at the end of the Blue Balls chapter, Chris appears, greeting them. He is totally kitted out. He has a ton of boss and crawler kills. And he just shows up and says, "Hey, what up?" And Carl greets him back. And suddenly we are in tense, scary moment after a very silly chapter.
Yeah.
We then in chapter 14 proceed to have continue a very weird conversation with Chris. Chris is talking a lot. He's saying lots of words in lots of sentences, and the sentences are long. This does not seem like Chris immediately.
No, this is not his MO at all. We are like, something has changed.
Yes, something has dramatically changed here. And Carl is freaking out. He's thinking about Odette's warning. He's seeing that his viewership is spiking. Katya, during this conversation, receives an emergency benefactor box, and Mordecai in the chat is like, she needs to go open this immediately. And Carl realizes here that keeping an eye on viewership count is a extremely useful warning system that he should have been keeping an eye on more, because it's been Donut. Donut is the one that notices viewership spiking. It tells Carl, and Carl's like, I need to have this information available. I should put this on my UI and stop like bemoaning it. But Carl is panicking, trying to figure out what's going on. He thinks he's about to be attacked. We know that the last time he thought he was about to be attacked was with Hecla, and he wasn't attacked. So we're just like, what's going on here? He is trying to get Chris to come chat in the safe room, and Chris gives this like horribly formed excuse of like, I chose a class race combo that is hurt by chatting, and I don't like safe rooms. And it just feels like the most awful excuse. But Carl's like trying to save face, I guess, with Chris. And then Juicebox shows up, touches Chris, and is like being like, hey, sexy, want to come hang out later? You can come to the toe. And then she like addresses Carl, and she's like, yeah, if you want to come by later, we definitely need to chat. Thank you for helping save my people. You can bring those two guys. And then they're like,
as a throwaway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What two guys? And then Chris starts monologuing, evil bad guy really monologuing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Carl has no idea what's going on. And then suddenly, I actually have two daughters, Chris said. You only know about one, but there's another. She's older, from my first marriage. She was home, so she died in the collapse. Our game guide, when we first got here, told us all about it. He said she might come back. People who die in the collapse aren't really dead. They're put in storage. Only you can't save them. I think about that a lot. They bring them out sometimes, but it's never for good. They can be changed. They force you to kill them on the deeper floors. He told me about a crawler that was forced to face down his whole family. He killed himself instead. And then she goes on to say, I can't kill anybody else in my family, Carl. I can't. It's Maggie. It's Maggie.
Maggie is wearing Chris like armor.
She's
Maggie,
an infiltrator.
Inside his brain, she is an infiltrator. She is wearing Chris's body like a suit of armor. Basically, in the same way that Finn uses Jake's body in Adventure Time whenever he crawls into his mouth. And then like he like turns into like Super Jake and Finn, and he jumps into a volcano. This is very similar.
Yeah.
So, like,
and I think last time we talked about stuff that was going on with Chris, I pointed out like all the warning signs and everything we needed to know to figure this out like a mystery novel was there. It was just like not pushed in front of us. But Mordecai has been telling us this. Matt Dinniman has been telling us this the entire time. The changes in behavior, the warnings about, possession and reanimation and infiltrator classes, they've been there. The change of behavior that is unlike Chris, but it was veiled by the fact that with the race changing, and like that kept being our like excuse for why like stuff was changed. But it was, and
the misdirect was Ellie. Ellie was a 99-year-old pudding for brains, guest of a retirement facility where she was cared for by a team of people. And when she got her new body, she reverted.
She changed a lot too. But did she? She just kind of became who she was when she was younger.
Exactly. She became an earlier version of herself. So that was the misdirect. We were like, okay, well, Ellie's changed a little bit, but yeah, of course she's got all her faculties about her, and she's got like a new hot bod. So she's like, hell yeah, I'm back, baby. And now that we're looking at that going, oh gosh, she's so different from what we knew her as before. So that when we see the race change of Chris and we hear about him, you know, taking a walk and looking for Carl and killing people and
Yeah.
having fights, we're like, oh God, maybe it is a race change thing. But nope.
Yeah. Oh, the other sign, Brendan told Carl in his last words, like, or
Yes.
maybe Imani or Elle said something like Chris was insisting that Carl was nearby and wanted to go find him.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, Maggie has the find crawler skill. It was all
Yep.
there.
It's right
all
there.
there.
Yep.
I was waiting for that cat to come out, but she's too much of a coward, I guess. They promised me if I did it this way, they wouldn't. And then she gets stunned. Katya has received 10 bolts of Petrify Rock class and has stunned Chris Maggie. Right as Maggie Chris pulls out a celestial hand grenade to summon a god.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much to unpack here. So first of all, I would have expected Maggie, with all of her like stealth abilities and the way they were going about things, for her, and especially with something we learn later in the book, which I am going to spoil. Chris has an ability to burrow under sand. It's shocking that Maggie didn't use that to stealth up on and assassinate Carl and or Donut. But she starts to clue in, if I did it this way, they wouldn't. And so there's so much going on here that I want to like quickly talk through, and then I want to hear your thoughts. So Maggie is not assassinating. She is doing things a different way than what she would normally do, because she has been promised that they wouldn't blank. And she was just talking about using my loved ones who were captured in the collapse. Like making me fight my daughter.
Right.
They promised me they wouldn't make me fight my daughter if I did it this way. And she's not talking about revenge. She's talking about killing Carl so that she can avoid her fear. Like something has changed in Maggie too here. She is acting unusual, even like in the way that we understand her. And it's because the stakes have changed for her as well.
Yeah, I think okay, so like we spoke to Frank. Frank has nothing left. Frank is a broken man. There's nothing left for Frank. I think the same is true for Maggie.
Yes.
I think that maybe Maggie has lost her lust, her bloodlust, her desire to kill, but maybe she hasn't gotten to the point where she wants to die herself. And the only way that she can imagine continuing is if she's guaranteed that she won't have to kill or fight her other daughter, which was killed, who was killed in the collapse as some sort of dungeon mob. So maybe she doesn't have the same zeal or zest or desire to kill Carl as she once did. She's broken in a way that we're not even aware of yet.
Yeah. Well, like,
she's like, I'll continue on, but I can't kill anyone else.
Her grief, her revenge, like her going through her grief, a la revenge, has been replaced with fear of more grief.
Yes, absolutely.
Of more horror.
And the burrowing aspect of Chris's class, I think the reason why she did it this way was because if she came to them as a friend, as a familiar face, and she was able to get the drop on them, so much the better.
Except she's not even acting like Chris to get the drop on them. She
never met Chris. How could she act like Chris? She doesn't know.
That's true.
She's like,
well, it's funny because if she had been talking to people in her chat, well, no, she couldn't talk. Well, maybe she can talk as Chris, but we learn here in the scene that Chris has been prevented from talking because of the infiltrator class possessing him. We get a really tense scene, and it's punctuated by these like moments of like, we are on the clock. Katya only has 10 of these bolts and they only last a minute each. So we have 10 minutes total, like tops, to deal with this. So Chris, as soon as he gets stunned, Chris is able to text Imani, who texts them Um, he's in here, but he's being controlled by Maggie in a body snatcher horror film. The scene progresses as more bolts keep getting fired, and they're panicking and trying to make sense of what's going on and process it and figure out what to do. But there's all these other shocking revelations about those caught in the collapse still being alive, which is, further stirring up emotions, even if it wasn't emotional enough to be reunited with Chris in this situation. They don't know how to get Maggie out. Elle chimes in via chat that because Amani won't, that Chris is giving permission to kill him and Maggie. Carl is refusing. Mordecai is like, I can make a potion, but not until the next floor because I don't have the ingredients yet. So there's just like all of these like maybe not yet possible solutions and alternatives that are unacceptable, and time is just flying really fast. Chris shares some info about what's going on with Maggie and her sponsors, but he gets silenced before he can out that information. Like the system suppresses him because it's like some sort of cheating, and it won't let him out it, but it won't reprimand Maggie, which is fucked.
Yep.
Carl pitches just like killing them both. Well, he pitches trying to rip her out of Chris's head, but that's obviously not going to work. And he just gets mad at everyone that no one else is trying to like figure this out with him. And then he like has to fall back on his mantra, you cannot save them all, because he realizes this is an impossible situation. And Carl apologizes to Imani. He tells Chris, he pastes Brendan's message into a chat with Chris, or says it out loud or something. Katya offers to step in and take the player killer skull because she already has one. Carl says, no, fuck that. I'm not going to make anyone else deal with this. He asks everyone to step back. He forms his fist. And then Donut asks Carl not to be mad with her. And she casts Hole. And
so
right below them all. And it's so clever using the mechanics that Matt Dinniman's built that we've already seen in action. Chris, who has cleared a quadrant, falls through the floor, a barrier into the tomb that they stop at because they cannot pass. They have not cleared their quadrant yet.
Right.
And then she says, you best step out of the hole or your feet will get chopped off when I turn off the spell. Daddy wouldn't like that very much.
This moment with Donut was especially like incredible. Like the way that she we don't know if Mordecai's in here or if she's just, we have to assume she's just really fucking smart. And she's like, you know what? I'm not going to let Carl do this. This will weigh on him. And like, she knows that Carl has cleared his quadrant. He can fall through. Carl won't. This was, oh God, like this was just this was such a gift.
This was Donut being Carl and Carl being Donut.
Yes.
Like she was being level-headed and thinking things through and approaching the situation logically.
Yeah. And Carl immediately after is like, thank God that decision was taken away from me.
Well, he's pissed.
Then he feels guilty immediately after.
He's pissed off, and he's like, "You've freed Maggie," and she is like, "No, look at the map. They are trapped in that room. We were right where we needed to be. This has bought us time that we didn't have with those bolts."
Yes.
And you're not a killer. Like that was her motivation. You are not a killer, Carl. I can't have you moping around on me. Is how she puts it. But it's just like sparing him from having to deal with this, buying them time to just figure it out, which is a gift.
Fucking amazing. So good.
Which is perfect because Carl was cracking. He was already cracking and he wasn't going to be able to process this. Like this could have been Carl ending for them. Like Carl could have snapped and just become someone like Florin who couldn't continue on. So Imani messages, she's like, thank you, Donut. Once you clear all the quadrants, you can petrify him and throw him into the stairwell and make the potion on the next floor, which is just like really impractical. But Imani isn't the most practical person. She's emotional, but that's fine. She's just like, she's, you know, taking what she can see, and, you know, they'll figure it out later. And it's just this emotional way to resolve this like impossible situation. And, you know, Matt Dinniman painted such a beautiful picture with all of these different factors of like what spells they have, what dungeon mechanics are in place to just create this beautiful situation.
This is hard to read too, because like Chris is like, "Hey, just kill me, please. You'll be helping me." He's begging for Carl to kill him, and he's like, "It's okay, I promise. Thank you."
Yeah. Chris was just totally resigned throughout that. It was like really bittersweet and awful. Yeah. Great scene.
Amazing scene.
We end the chapter. So at the resolution of the Blue Balls chapter, after they've fought all the gerbils, Carl is like feeling so exhausted, cannot wait to get to sleep, and Chris shows up, and then we have this unfold. And so, like going back 2 chapters, Carl is so ready to go to sleep and just rest because like he's mentally and emotionally overwhelmed. And then he goes, "All right, Juice Box, let's talk." And Donut's like, "Are you sure you want to talk now? Don't we need to rest? Don't we need to get some sleep?" And he's like, "We'll sleep when we're dead." So he is like, he is so fired up here. He's in go mode. So Donut has gotten the social media board upgrade for their personal space. She can now see curated comments from viewers. She is just sitting in Twitch chat reading the comments. And she is having some visceral and lovely reactions to those while Carl is talking to Juicebox. We learned that Henrik wants to touch Quetzalcoatlus' flesh because Quetzalcoatlus has a spell that can help address a disease that we have seen throughout the chapters that changelings have called decompression sickness. So it's more complicated than the AI let on, which is actually kind of nice, that like the showrunners would write such a human story of like these changelings want to help their people. And it really puts into perspective that not only Juicebox wants to protect her people, but so does Henrik. Henrik is not just motivated by some like weird, outlandish, like I need to 100% my achievements, like motivation.
But he's not just like some weird religious zealot.
He's at least 2-dimensional. At least. And we learn here that Juicebox really wants to get to the hunting grounds, the next floor, which is she wants to get to the 9th floor, which is their ancestral home. One of the floors. She wants to get to the 6th
floor, the hunting grounds.
The hunting grounds, the 6th floor.
Yeah.
And then we learn a lot more about the Gate of the Feral Gods, which both Juicebox and Henrik think is dangerous. There are 2 watches and a box that are used to create a wormhole to wherever you want to go in the dungeon. But it also, as a consequence, opens up a portal to the Nothing. Remember the Nothing from the gambling scene? Nothing is where gods get banished to and they become feral. They go crazy. And so the Gate of the Feral Gods creates a portal, but lets a feral god out from the side that it is dialed from. And they receive a new quest to collect the pieces of the Gate of the Feral Gods. Collect them, put them together, reward. Oh boy, oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy. That is all the reward is given. So they decide that they want to go up to the floating house rather than blow it up because the king up there has one of the watches. They telescope up and see that in the house is a girl. It is the daughter of the king. This is at this point when Donut gets her 4th version of the donut toy, which survives a Mungo attack. The toy says at one point, "There sure were a lot of babies in there, Carl. I wonder how long they will continue to cry in the dark." Continuing the fucked up quotes.
So creepy. Yeah, absolutely.
Mongo bites its head off. It starts to count down to an explosion. They have added so many features to make it robust enough that they also must, that Borant has required them to make it self-detonate if they get at an exposed like component. At this point, Donut's just disappointed in the toy makers. Carl mocks them. Lloyd tells them to stop bemoaning the sponsor and that their strength. This is when she says, "Your strength is superpowered. You're Herculean. It doesn't match what consumers will experience. So stop bemoaning them." Lloyd says, "After we realized you were going to fiddle with the toy, we started requiring the sponsor to make the doll self-destruct if it is sufficiently broken. We don't want you unfairly getting your hands on the important interior parts. The real version won't have them." This is like an escalation from some of the changes Loida and Borant have been making to high-level crawlers going to sponsorships. There's no more snacks. There's now supervised visitations with the staff. So this is just another, like, this feels very natural. Like, this is us protecting the fairness of the crawl. Yeah. Carl points out that it's Borant's actions impacting the perception of toy safety and not him. And Zev points out, "You're not wrong, crawler. There are memes." This is funny because it's Zev like being shitty, like Bloom-esque to them. "You're not wrong, crawler." But then she also is like, "There are memes." So she is like being a little playful with them when she's been like really brainwashed so far.
Re-educated.
Yeah. So like, oh, part of Zev is still here. That's good, at least. And this is punctuated by Donut going, "Zev, what should I name my toy?"
Yes, exactly.
And Zev just responds really dispassionately at first, like, "What would be the point, crawler?" And then later in the scene, she's like, "Well, if I had to choose, I'd go with blah, blah, blah." At which point Donut gasps. And then just like really focuses up and like has been really nervous. Like Carl can tell Donut's really nervous for Zev throughout this whole scene and the last several times they've talked. And then Donut just like gasps at this and gets really focused and fine. Later in the book, we learn that Carl thinks that Donut and Zev are communicating via the message board. I think
he doesn't know how.
Yeah, I think this was a secret code. I think this is Zev like letting Donut know. I think Donut put out like cast a lure to see like, hey, Zev.
Secret code.
I think
it's just
no. Here's my theory. I think Donut has seen some comments in her chat and suspects that Zev is in her chat, and so the names she throws out, one of which is the name of the commenter that she suspects Zev is. And I think Zev responds in the affirmative. We never learn this at any point. This is my theory, but I think there's a code here. This is like Donut going like, "Hey, Zev, is this you?" And Zev going, "No, I would never. But also, yes."
Wonderful theory. Okay.
Yeah.
You know what? I accept that as canon. Absolutely. Why not? I love it. Oh gosh, there's other things. We can't talk about it. There will be spoilers. So, but no, I accept this. I love this. This is a great theory.
Yeah. So I am spoiling the fact that Zev is okay, but it's for the sake of, I think that this is a really important, because like Donut gasping here is a sign that something's going on. And the fact that she switches her attitude and becomes okay when she has not been okay is very telling to me about Donut's emotional state, like towards Zev, and her worry being like satiated. Anyway, so the toy will now blow up, which is hilarious because they pushed the toy to the point where it has to be robust enough to survive for the sake of the sponsor. So they find one of the planes, the drop planes, which has a built-in kind of like life vest component where it produces like a helium balloon and the plane rises up. And this is basically like if the plane ever was going to crash, this would be the pilot's way of getting back home to the gnome castle. And they use it to basically elevator ride up to the house. Before they take off, they learn that this particular plane's name is Death Trap. Carl renames it to Nightmare 2 in honor of the Nightmare Express. So they elevator with the plane up. They hop onto the lawn, the mostly destroyed lawn of this up house, and they meet a little girl in a Dallas Cowboy jersey covered in blood. Have you come to kill my father? You're a little late. He's already dead. Do you want to come in? I'm making lemonade. What a creepy.
How fucking creepy. Yeah.
Oh god, this NPC is fucked. There's a reason why. So we have the final interaction with this castle. They go on a bit of a wild goose chase trying to do it, however. We were expecting there to be a fight with the king, or at least some sort of social interaction. Not the king, the commandant. I've been calling him the king, but he is Commandant Kane, and this is his daughter, Bonnie. She wants to sell them lemonade. She is humming as she makes it. It's really creepy and weird. It feels very like horror movie-esque. There's a weird tooltip over the lemonade suggesting that it is an unknown potion. They inspect Kane's body. He was ripped to shreds by Denise. Who's Denise? There's a letter from Gazi, the Mad Dune mage, on his body. He basically is like, I have the Gate of the Feral God box component, one of the 3 pieces, the box that you put the watches in. I have figured out how to use it without the watches. Stop bombing me or I'll use it. It's basically a threat. And the reason why these two weren't, like, it's the fictional reason on the floor why these two weren't fighting. Basically, they were also in a Cold War standoff. Yep. Carl notices that their altitude is changing. They are dropping and the lights flicker. This is furthering our horror movie trope. And Bonnie says, that's Denise. When she gets mad, magic stuff doesn't work. The balloon is sinking and magic that is keeping the house afloat is suddenly not working. She says she usually gets over it pretty soon. She's probably on the roof. And then the Clockwork Mongo scouts that they had sent in upstairs start exploding prematurely. Feels more monster in the house. Carl asks Mordecai for advice on dealing with bosses with no spells. He's like, you're not going to be able to use spells. You're not going to be able to use scrolls. Your gauntlet won't work. And only a few potions will work. And this is just setting up this fight to be horrifying. Like, a lot of their tools are not going to work. It is the opposite of what happened in the Doomsday scenario where magic items were flying off, being activated. This is, you can't use anything. You have so few tools. They suddenly are warned that the house is falling from the sky, and they are given a timer until the house and they will splat. Carl starts preparing to use the lemonade because he thinks that will be the key. And right as as Bonnie tosses him the lemonade, it spills.
It moves out of the way of his
the
hand.
AI basically
It was
moves
always
it.
Gonna be,
This was a scripted event. Right as a feral goose appears, a burrow boss. This in a bonnet, mind you. This is Denise. It's even worse than we have just been prepared. Physical attacks will also not work on Denise. You have 3 minutes. Figure it the fuck out. This is so tense. Matt Dinniman is so good at writing this tension, like building up these like contrived situations. Like, of course, there's going to be a boss where you cannot damage it. You can't use magic. You can't punch it. What are you going to do? And they have so little time to figure it out. So they're running through the house, trying to figure it out while Bonnie is making more lemonade. Mongo is getting really hurt, trying to protect them, and they have to pull him back. Carl distracts Denise by throwing a mug as they run up the stairs and then use a hole to go back down to get the lemonade. This is just another beautiful scene where we have this like very clear, distinctive, like kind of counting down, much like we had with the 10 petrify bolts with Maggie. They have a 3-minute timer to like figure this out, and it's just great pressure that Matt Dinniman finds ways to write. And suddenly Carl notices that the health bar has appeared on Bonnie, and they have 1 minute left, and he's like, I am no closer to figuring this out. I don't know how Bonnie got hurt. Carl drinks the lemonade. The world freezes, and the AI goes, "New achievement, wild goose chase. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you think that this was important? Magic doesn't work, dumbass. It's lemonade. Reward. It's really delicious. Too bad you're about to splatter against the roof of the catacombs."
Die. Yeah, exactly.
The AI is fucking with Carl. Again, not doing him any favors. So, fuck this. I don't know what to do. Carl throws the pitcher at Denise, and her health ticks down again. Environmental damage is the key. And with 20 seconds left, Carl grabs Denise, shoves her head in the disposal. Donut calls to Donut to hit the disposal. She hesitates, runs over, hits the button. No, that's the light, dumbass. Hits the other button. And with 1 second left, they disposal Denise. And the house bumps onto the ground.
Yep.
The air quadrant has been liberated.
So fucking tense. I wrote that is not an approved use for a garbage disposal.
That's very funny. Yeah, just a great. Matt Dinniman's still finding great ways to write boss fights that stay tense, and even though their strength is going up, like the stakes are remaining the same, but still being exciting. Because he's finding new ways to keep those stakes relevant.
Like how do you hurt a boss if you don't have your magical items that you usually use to kill a boss? And if your own physical attacks with your superhuman strength or super cat strength or whatever, how do you harm a boss if your physical blows against it and your magical items don't work? Use your fucking brain. It makes it so much more exciting. I love when he raises the stakes like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So they win. And we progress into the next set of chapters. This is kind of like a follow-up. Chapter 17 kind of like does a debrief of the boss fight, but I think it distinctively moves into the next kind of big arc, which is the murder of Loita.
My favorite.
It's so good. I can't wait to talk about this. So we're on the ground. Carl is chatting with Juicebox, and Bonnie is here. Bonnie gives them a necklace that controls the balloon house. They now can use the balloon house, the up house, as a vehicle. Carl like loots the house of everything, and while he's doing that, he sees all these like personal items of the people that actually lived in the house.
The actual humans
and
that lived there.
Yeah. And he's like, this is him like taking the time to reflect on what Maggie said about like people can be brought back. And like how these people could be brought back. And he thinks to himself, like he's thinking about the horrors of this. And he's like, I'm lucky. There's only 2 people out there that they could drudge up. For most, that number could be a lot higher.
Yeah, it's horrifying to contemplate. Like, so yeah, he's really ruminating on like, oh my God, who would they bring back? Can I risk seeing these people?
And I think we know that the 2 people, I think we believe that Carl's dad is alive, and we suspect
potentially Beatrice.
And Beatrice. Now, either one of them could be in the dungeon, but we don't think so because that would have been flaunted in front of Carl.
Oh yeah, they would have thrown them in their face immediately to get an emotional response.
And Carl's been thinking like, well, if they were on the surface, they would have been found by now as well. So now Carl's like, oh fuck, do they have my dad? Do they have B? Mm-hmm. Unless Matt Dinniman here is like been holding someone from Carl's past that he hasn't mentioned, but I don't think that's the case.
I don't know.
So Louis and Fierce show up to help secure the house. They've been training and leveling up. They're like coming into their own a little bit, which is great. They've killed some bosses since we last saw them. Juicebox takes Bonnie into her care and kind of joins the child NPC daycare service that they're running out of their safe home. Juicebox says, we'll take care of her. Orphans will always be welcome in Humptown, or they will always have a home in Humptown. Yeah. And Donut just messages, that sounds obscene. Not now, Donut. And then Carl debriefs Donut's hesitation during the fight, kind of accusing her once again of not really like paying attention and getting overwhelmed, and that they got really lucky that he figured it out. And she responds really well. She's like, what did you want me to do? This was an anti-magic fight and I'm all fucking magic, Carl. And it also wasn't luck. That was you being you. I'm pretty sure we were supposed to drown the goose in the sink or the lemonade pitcher, not her rip her head off in the garbage disposal. So she had already figured out some other solutions, but didn't mention them. You're a good fighter.
Or she thought about it after the fact.
Yeah, true.
You know?
That's more likely. You're a good fighter, Carl, and you think fast. That's why we're still alive. You rarely think of the proper answer to a problem, but you usually come up with one that works anyway. Exactly. This is really crucial, I think, for Matt Dinniman to put words like these words in Donut's mouth.
Yes.
As we're heading into the second half of this book and the next book after that, because ultimately Carl is going up against these factions and hunters and that have access to the stream and know what he's doing, knowing what he's planning, and can prepare to and can like better anticipate him because they have better knowledge. And so Carl being able to figure things out an unconventional way is his superpower, and it's really hitting home like this is what we're going to need moving forward.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. So then we get some shitty commentary from Loita after this. You need to be ready to go on your show, and we generally get like this Matt Dinniman has really been building up this Loita is a fish Nazi
yes
thing, and she basically said, hey, yeah, barely making it in your fights is really great for your numbers, keep it up. So then we get some back and forth, and Donut is like, I don't like you, Loita, you smell bad. And then she's like, don't talk to me like that, Crawler. We'll take Mongo and feed him to a mob on the next level.
She threatens to kill Mongo. This is crazy. This is like, she's just clearly stating, I will abuse my position of power to hurt you and be cruel. It's so...
Yeah. So, and then of course, Carl in that moment, like when Donut is feeling emotional because someone that she loves, Mongo, is being threatened, she can't think rationally. So Carl then steps in, gives her a little pet, and, kind of tells her to take it down a notch. It'll be fine. And then in the next scene, well, maybe not the next scene exactly, but following up on that, one of the things that really stuck out with me with following this interaction was Bonnie. We hear from Katya that Bonnie is coming out of it. She was given a potion. Basically, her father gave her a potion, knowing that he was about to be killed by Denise. She couldn't stop crying. Gives her the potion. He dies. She's not bothered by it. Right? Like he gave her potion Xanax. So he has this interaction with her. Bonnie tells him, like, yeah, my dad gave me the potion. Do you have another potion that I could have? And that really that fucked me up. Like, this little girl who is an NPC.
It's so fucked up.
She's like, I don't want to feel.
Can you drug me
right now? Please drug me. I don't want to feel this way.
Yeah.
I take this away from me, please. And they're like, we don't have that. And then it's in this.
I have a lot to say here.
Carl was already pretty radicalized at this point, but this interaction fucking catapults him.
Yeah. So there's
his next steps.
Two things that radicalize Carl here. So Zev says goodbye to them. Did you mention this?
No.
So because they have a social media interface now, they don't need a social media manager to filter the comments. So Zev says goodbye and Donut gets really sad. Carl promises Donut that they will see Zev again. That radicalizes Carl. The second,
but Donut is like, don't keep promises that don't make promises you can't keep, Carl.
Yeah.
And especially in a place like this. And he's like, don't worry.
And then we get the threat of taking away Mongo. That radicalizes Carl. And then we get this beautiful moment between Bonnie and beautifully sad moment between Bonnie and Juicebox. Mongo, to comfort Bonnie, Mongo brings her a stuffed toy. The Mongo, the creature that was just threatened to be taken away. Carl gives Bonnie a photo of her dad and mom that he found in the house. And Loida chimes in, stop being melodramatic and concerning yourselves with NPCs. And this is where this pushes Carl over the edge. I motioned to Katya and Donut, and we left the girl with Juicebox. I turned to look one last time, and the girl was sobbing, clutching onto the changeling while she held the stuffed pink toy. Juicebox stroked the girl's hair. That was the moment. Right then, I'd been toying. I'm gonna underline that word, toying around with an idea, but I dismissed it as too risky, too soon. That was the moment I changed my mind. So this is also the chapter we get a lot about toy economics and learn that this is a cheap toy from a cheap company for people who don't pay their taxes or who live like truckers, space truckers.
And that you have to have an insert in your brain in order to be able to access the function, the full functionality of the toy. It's so fucked up.
I wrote here the plot of Toy Story 3. Andy, the boy we've lived with for the Toy Story movies, passes his toys on to a girl named Bonnie to be a loving home for his toys, and they accept her as their new home while Andy goes to college. So I don't have this complete connection fully figured out. I spent a lot of time thinking about this, but I'm drawing all these connections. There must be something here. But like the thing with toys, with Bonnie,
the Charlie murder board.
Yeah,
the red
I am. That's me. But like with the fact that they played Toy Story on the TV earlier, Carl giving all of these NPCs a home, and this toy prop and play feels like there's all these vectors for Toy Story being important here. I'm just. I don't have a full idea to point out here, but I know there's something here, and I wish I had more time to think about it. But yeah, this is also the moment Carl makes a big decision, the way Andy made a big decision at the end to like fight for his, or like make a big choice for his toys. I think the same way Carl is making a big decision to support the NPCs here. I'd been toying around with an idea. I think it's really funny.
Yeah, chef's kiss.
Chef's kiss. So, chapter 18 is particularly special because I think 3 or 4 times throughout the chapter, we get these like running parallels of entries from the 19th user of the cookbook, a crawler named Cooley, who also experienced going into a trailer. He, at the start of the chapter, where we start with an entry where he's like, I'm in a trailer and I can see my planet. It is beautiful. I wish this is the last thing I see. And this is like right as Carl is going into a trailer, right after having decided to do something really big and risky. Carl asks for a second before they get transferred to the show to deal with some stuff on his sapper's table. Loida has another shitty response, but affirms that he can do it. Carl talks us through some items he's been working on, including a hobgoblin disco ball that the toy donut knocks over, causing to go off, and gets him and the toy covered in like disco dust.
Yes.
I love that it's a cat toy that is knocking shit over. It's just, it feels chef's kiss.
Perfect.
Pretty colors. Robot Donut said. I felt the head turn around to face me in the complete multi-hued smoke storm. The voice went down an octave. This is what we all see in the end. I'm always here for you, Carl. Just more freaky.
So fucked up.
I don't know if there's something going on with this toy. I don't think so. I wonder if the AI might be getting involved, but it's really cute.
I love it. Yeah. So creepy.
They arrive in the trailer. Zev berates Carl for the state of the toy. She says it'll be fine because there'll be a replacement on the show. Sorry, did I say? Sorry. Okay. I wrote Zev.
So Zev is not there. Loida is, though, and she's pissed that the donut toy is all fucking dirty and can't go on the show.
Carl asks, why are you so angry all the time? And we finally get Loida to break. And she just responds so xenophobically. She just has seething loathing, hate, and racism towards humans and really everyone else. She calls human culture filth and thinks it should be exterminated. It calls them a cancer upon the bloom. Donut responds like, you probably should have become a PR agent if that's how you really feel, darling. This is why we like working with Zev. She has our best interest at heart. She knows how to exploit our star power. And that like further pisses off Loita, and she gets into like, this is exactly why we had to do all of this to Zev, because you're all so dangerous and she's so young and impressionable. And then she gets into like I can't wait till we are done with all of you. Once this is all over, like we will like shut down our borders and then reawaken the bloom. You and your filthy culture, blah blah blah, and it just goes on and on. It's just like extreme xenophobia. This is like full Nazi bloom politics and beliefs here. And Carl's just like, okay, well, we're gonna go on the show. I'll leave the toy with you, and puts it on the couch next to her. Stay next to Loida, Robot Donut said. Understood. She turned her head towards Loida and said, have you ever felt true cold? It comes soon for us all. It's always waiting in the shadows. Just more creepy bullshit. We cut to another excerpt from Cooley about his attempt to blow up 2 admins in the trailer using an explosive that he smuggled in, and we can start to see where this is all heading. The toy will blow up if tampered with. They do the commercial. Carl is kind of shitty and points out some idiocy to the company. We cut to another excerpt of Cooley stating that he failed. The admins were only hollows, and the force field around the ship prevented the ship from breaking apart, but is also preventing teleportation from piercing into the trailer to save him. This is important information for Carl, as his plan is built on this. They film the commercial, and Carl goes off script stating that the toy's trainability is his favorite part. It's far more compliant than the real Donut. And then they all start laughing except Donut. And then he goes on to say, I mean, that's what we all want, isn't it? Compliance. And he starts calling out that this company is probably has a parent company, and that they're funneling money to Bowen. This is some of the politics we learned with the toy company and sponsorship and why they're being sponsored. Like, this was all from Mordecai, really. It's very interesting, and just more geopolitics of sponsorship. It's great. Carl, they point out like, why are you saying this? We're just recording this and going to edit it for commercials later. And he's like, well, I can say whatever I want in the dungeon. And that gets Loida to stand up. And this is what Carl wanted all along, like why he started like pushing their buttons to get Loida to stand up. And then there's an explosion. They are ripped out of the hollow meeting. The window is cracked. The force shield is holding the trailer together. Same as Cooley. Carl thanks him for the info. And Loida is sitting there like two of her limbs are gone. She's all charred like a fried fish, Carl says. And Carl realizes that Bowen is also going to have to decide, do we drop the shield to teleport Loida out and save her instantly? Or do we let her die, let our drones repair the ship before we pull the crawlers out?
Our 2 very high-ranking, money-making crawlers out. It's like, is Loita more important and valuable, or Carl and Donut? And Carl knows this, and Loita knows it. And at this moment, he's looking down at her while she's been fried to a crisp because the robot Donut blew up, and he's like looking down at her, and she's like, you're never gonna win. And he's like,
I know you did this. This was your doing. Yeah,
exactly. And he smiles at her, and he's like, what do you mean? The toy blew up. You made it that way.
This is, I told you that this was your doing.
And then like with, and then, spewing more vitriol, and he looks at her and he's like, nobody likes melodrama, Loita.
Oh, fires it right back at her. So good.
Boom. Oh, good. So part of the reason why I was asking those questions about like when you visualize something, like when you're reading and you hear it and can you see it in your head? I saw this scene so clearly in my head. Donut is on his shoulder. He's smiling down at her like with a grimace, like just menace, looking down at this creature who has died at his hand. by accident.
In our pre-show, we were talking about mind's eye and aphantasia and like how we perceive things we read and perceive our thoughts in our mind.
I saw
for
this
context.
so
this
clearly.
Yeah, so good.
And it's one of these scenes like where I wish I was a better artist. I wish I could put onto a page or in an artist's rendition or like a painting of or something of this image that I have in my mind of this crispy fucking evil fish Nazi fucking gasping out her last and Carl standing over her just like smiling at her like while she's dying. I was like, fuck yes, fuck that bitch.
It's so
Hell yeah.
good.
Die slower. Ugh.
Yeah.
You know, like just so good.
So
it was very fulfilling. It was very satisfying.
It is so satisfying. This has been getting built up in so many different ways for so long. Yes. Just like all the learning about how the trailers work and getting us to this point where they're under the ocean, like paying off over and over and over. The mechanics with the cat toy that we thought was just a throwaway bullshit, like sponsorship thing. It's so good. And this, it's a shocking, like sudden dialing it up to 15. Like Carl has been laying low with his, quiet resistance. This is just like an overt, extremely risky move that he has made to actually murder an administrator. And we're just left wondering, like, what does this mean? What is Carl planning for the future? Or what consequences will there be? How will this change everything? But what we're left with at the end of the chapter, because when Matt Dinniman decides to leave with like a funny little quip at the end, like he could have easily ended this chapter with the like, no one likes melodrama, she dies. But he punctuates it with Carl making 2 entries of his own into the cookbook. And the first one is addressed to Cooley, who is long since either dead or not in the dungeon. If it wasn't for your info, I wouldn't have had the courage or knowledge to act, basically highlighting how valuable the long-term investment of the cookbook is finally paying off after all of these crawlers, sacrificed everything to put information in it. And he says, like, what I did today, that small step, I did it for you, Cooley. But if I manage another and another after that, I'm sorry. It's for me and for my people. And he restates, they will not break me. And then there is a second entry. It's almost, you almost miss it because on my Kindle, the first entry starts on one page. And every entry starts with like note added by this crawler in this edition of the cookbook. And then on the next page, it looks like the entry ends with that. And I almost missed it. But it is in fact a second entry and it has one word. And that word is 1.
1.
Carl is tallying his kills.
Yep. Fuck, I love this. It was so good. Oh my God.
He is going on the offensive. It feels so good. This book starts kind of slow with your typical like, oh, here's what's going on with this floor. Here's some characters. Here's some new items. Here's some like new mechanics and things we'll work with. Here's some fun. Here's some silly banter with the AI. And it just dials up with the Chris stuff and the Loita stuff. And I think at this point moving forward, we are dialed up to 15 in this series, and there is no going back.
Yes.
This is absolutely a big turning point for the book and for the series. And there's some
shift.
More completely crazy banana stuff that I'm so excited to talk about in the rest of this book next week. But
absolutely,
the murder of Loita is insane.
It feels so good. Like reading that passage, I was just like, fuck yes. It was deeply satisfying to like read it, to see it in my mind. I was just like, yes. Like one of the things that I think that Matt Dinniman is incredibly skilled and like wonderful at, specifically with like things that are sort of tossed out there almost as a throwaway that you've forgotten about, that like as a, oh, here's this new gear, or here's this interesting ability that you have, or oh, here's this character, maybe we see them again, maybe we don't. And then he brings them back in such a way where you're just like, I fucking forgot. So that whenever that domino is knocked down and we get that payout, it just feels like the most epic and wonderful of callbacks, where you're just like, oh fuck yeah, I forgot about this. Hell yeah, because he utilizes it in a way where it doesn't feel cheap. It feels earned, and it's just, I'm so excited. I can't wait for the rest of this book and the introduction of a very important character.
Yes, very much so.
So
lots of important characters actually coming up.
oh yeah, that's true.
We have a couple. Yeah, I think because the pacing of this series and these books is just like, there's just constantly stuff happening one after another, that even if the payoff, like, if I'm sure if I sat and thought about it, some of these payoffs would feel a little cheap, but because I don't have time to think about it because there's constantly stuff going on, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It just it's so saturated with just good banter and world building, like just it weaves back and forth between it all really well.
It is it's like, it's horror, it's fantasy, it's sci-fi, it's
mystery.
So good.
It's so good. All right.
Anyway, but yeah,
this was good. This was fun. We hit our Chris transformation. We hit our NPCs becoming important. We hit our quiet resistance, not quiet anymore.
He said the quiet part out loud.
So Katya hasn't had as much in the first half of this book, but there's a lot more in the second half. Almost immediately. Oh
yeah.
Faction war stuff comes up later, and the AI degeneration / development we've hit. So there's more to go with a lot of these, but definitely two that didn't get as much light this time around was Katya and the faction wars.
We see them coming up.
Oh yeah. All right.
I'm excited for part 2.
I know.
Part 2 will be 19 through
the epilogue. Yeah.
What is, how many
30,
chapters?
30,
is it 32?
34 plus the epilogue. I think it's 33 plus the epilogue.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Oh, 34 plus the epilogue. I miscounted. To change my notes. I've started my notes for next time, but I haven't gotten terribly far. I actually I wrote the epilogue notes first, and I definitely need to slim those down. There's so good.
I know. I remember what happens in the epilogue on this one. But as always, I will always advocate that if you're reading these books, you should also be listening to the audiobook alongside of it, from Sound Booth Theater.
Oh yeah.
Jeff Hayes is incredibly talented. But for the first few books, they have like a full cast for the first few books if you get the Sound Booth Theater app. I'm not getting a kickback. I'm just really fucking passionate, and I think they're great. So like, it's worth it to listen to them. So like,
excellent.
Anyway, just excellent. So
the Dungeon Crawler Carl RPG backer campaign is ending. Like the funding is ending really soon. It might be like Friday. Okay. But they also there was an update recently. Jeff Hayes is recording like a let's see here, a short story written by Ben Wolf that is like a short story within the Dungeon Crawler Carl world.
We get to see some other characters.
I think so.
Nice.
And then they are also making a soundboard for storytellers to use.
Get out.
So he's gonna
So
like,
obviously there'll be some goddamn it donut.
yeah,
There'll be a button.
yeah.
Fuck
So yeah, Jeff Hayes and Matt Dinniman have been like super supportive throughout the campaign, and
Oh, that's gonna
yeah,
be so
it's been really
great.
fun. Also, Parade of Horribles just came out. Have you started that?
Today. Oh my God, yes. I did, but I didn't. So this was one of the ones like where the Audible version and the Kindle version were
Oh, that's
released
right.
simultaneously.
Mhm.
So I got the Kindle version and I physically stopped myself from reading it by reading another book. It was romance, obviously. That's my thing. Um, but I could not stop myself from listening to the opening credits of Parade of Horribles just to get like a
Wonderful.
little taste of it. So
Mm,
that's as far as I've gone. I will not read. I'm going to do my very best to not read ahead.
I'm excited
As
for you, and I'm excited. I still haven't
I'm
read.
excited for us. I'm excited
I
for
still haven't
everybody.
read This Inevitable Ruin. I've only read like the
I
first
know.
quarter of it, if
Oh
that.
my God.
So yeah.
Wait until you book 7. Like, oh my God. This will be, I think, maybe the second time that I've read This Inevitable Ruin.
Oh, so good. Quick shout out. So I've been running a Dungeons and Dragons campaign called Starkana, The Second Breath, and we just hit a really interesting episode that feels very Butcher's Masquerade. I think you were in the chat. I don't know
Ooh,
how much you were
yes.
listening,
We came
but
in like towards the end of
yeah.
it, but
So
yeah.
it feels very Butcher's Masquerade, and Amy's character is having a huge like dungeon crawler Carl-esque character arc where she runs into her estranged mother that abandoned her in a sudden, like, we're in the middle of a life or death like high court drama, and now I have to deal with this bullshit. Are you kidding me?
Oh, hell
It's
yes.
really good.
Hell
It's
yes.
really good. So check that out.
Awesome. Fuck yeah.
And otherwise, we will see you next week for the second half of the Gate of the Feral Gods. If you are watching after the fact on YouTube, let us know what you think. We would love to hear from you. Thank you so much. We'll see you next
Thank you.
time.
Bye.
Bye.